Ladies and gentlemen, this is wrestling's last journeyman, the pride of Tater Peeler, Tennessee, and, if I do say so myself, one hell of a hand, Jeremiah Plunkett, and I'm telling you to listen up and give me back my pro wrestling.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
This is Steve Bowtie Bryant here. Back in the 90s, I was a pro wrestling photographer for the South. And I released what might have been one of the original sets of indie trading cards. I ran across some of these original sets. They were up in Randall Fanning's attic all this time. PG-13 rookie card. Ricky Morton, George Weingroff as the Sheik, Chris Champion, Reno Riggins, Billy Montana, Gary Valiant, the Scorpion, the Medic, Rick Reynolds, Jeff Daniels, Mephisto and Dante, Ben Jordan, Steve Neely, Marcus Woodrow, Clinton Charisma, Little Farmer John. If you'd like an opportunity to get these cards, contact me now. You can get them for only $49.99. Contact me at Steve Bowtie Bryant at iCloud.com. Get your set now while supplies last.
Hey, this is Jimmy from the Live and in Color with Wolfie D and Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling podcast. Would you like to also make a podcast? Spotify's got a platform that lets you make one super easily, then distribute it everywhere, and even earn money, all in one place for free. It's called Spotify for Podcasters, and here's how it works. Spotify for Podcasters lets you record and edit podcasts right from your phone or computer, so no matter what your setup is like, you can start creating today. Then you can distribute your podcast to Spotify and everywhere else podcasts are heard. And that's how you're hearing this right now. Video podcasts are also available on Spotify. With Spotify for Podcasters, you can earn money in a variety of ways, including ads and podcast subscriptions. And best of all, it's totally free with no catch. Ever since I discovered Spotify for Podcasters, it's made the job of producing multiple podcasts so much easier. I highly recommend you give it a try. Download the Spotify for Podcasters app or go to www.spotify.com/podcasters to get started today.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome one more time to the Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling podcast. And I'm here as always with my brother from the same father and mother, the Plastic Sheik, Jared Strait. What's up, Sheik? How you doing today?
Oh, not much, brother. How about you?
Not much. Just doing the thing. You know how it is. So
yeah. It's my favorite time of the year. It's March Madness time. So, a lot of my time lately has been spent watching basketball for hours on end. But
yeah. You spent the whole weekend basically, didn't you?
Yeah, I spent those first 4 days, the Thursday through Sunday, pretty much watch. I mean, as soon as they're on till when they go off, I'm watching them. So
yeah. And who you got? Duke? You picking your team?
I couldn't pick them this year. They looked good in their last game against James Madison, but I've got Connecticut. They look the best. I'm not really a Connecticut fan, but they've looked the best. So I tried to pick the winner this year instead of going with my heart.
Yeah, who's your Final Four?
It was Connecticut, Kentucky, which I missed that one, Houston, and North Carolina, which that hurts my heart to put North Carolina in there, but as a Duke fan, but they've got a good ball club. I mean, it's nothing. You could not like a team and still realize they've got talent. So
yeah. Well, I know one team I'm not pulling for, and that's NC State, but that's a whole other ball game, whole other reason for that. And if you know, you know. We'll just say that. But anyway, we got a cool show today, man. Our old buddy Jeremiah Plunkett's coming on the show again, part 2. I love it.
Yeah, man, I'm happy to get to talk to Plunkie. I know it's in a way a little bit of a part 2.5 or something like that with him. With the Kojima episode there before with Kroll and him.
Yeah, but really a part 1 for you. So
But yeah, part 1 for me. I was getting ready to say that, but it's my first time getting to chat with Plunkie. So
yeah, he's a good dude.
Am I allowed to call him Plunkie? I mean,
yeah, of course. Yeah, of course. That's how most people call him, and I think that would be natural to call him that.
Right.
So yeah, but he's a good guy. You know, anytime we can have him on the show, it's always welcome. Back in the early days of this podcast, I was even trying to think of a segment for him to come on and kind of do that, and then that kind of turned into the Mike Jablonski show, and then that kind of, you know, processed itself on down the line. But anyway, yeah. So anyway, Plunkie's a good dude. We're excited to have him on. You know, our last episode, a lot of people really enjoyed that one. I think Gene Ligon surprised some people, but I mean, you know, when you're a guy who committed his life to the pro wrestling business and you did it by any means necessary as far as working wherever you could, you know, there's something cool about that. And I think his story touched a lot of people, and we've received a lot of notes about how, you know, how much they enjoyed it. Ben Jordan sent me a note last night saying he just finished the episode, and, you know, he says, I just listened to the Gene Ligon episode. It was awesome. I love all the different stories that different guys have. Y'all do a great job of getting them out there for all the people to hear. And I said, thank you, man. That means a lot coming from you, Ben. You know,
yeah,
Ben's a good dude.
Ben's one of our favorite guests all time, so it's good to hear that.
Yeah, he's one of my favorite people all time for sure. He's, you know, got a cool story himself, and, you know, got to get him back on with Steve and do a Wild Boys episode in the future. But anyway, he even brought up the idea of we should do a Gimme Back My Pro Wrestling reunion and have all the guys we've had come on and, you know, tie it in with the Wolfie podcast and everything. And man, that's a good idea. So do we start the GoFundMe now?
There you go. Yeah, absolutely. Get going.
Yeah. Anyway, I like that idea. That might be something we could do down the line. We'll see. But anyway, we got a cool one today with Jeremiah Plunkett.
I'm ready for it, man. Let's get to it.
All right. Well, let's get it on here. We'll be right back with Plunkie after these messages.
Hey, guys, this is Wolfie D from PG-13. Check out my podcast, Live and in Color with Wolfie D, every Monday at noon. We're talking Memphis. We're talking ECW, WCW, WWF, everywhere that I've been. We even have some great guests, some Hall of Famers on the show with us every Monday, Live and in Color with Wolfie D.
Are you a pro wrestling fan? Well, stop by Captain's Corner, where you can get autographed photos, cards, magazines, and figures from all of your favorite wrestling superstars of the past, present, and future. You'll also be able to participate in live signings in the weeks and months to come. Make sure to stop by Captain's Corner on Facebook and give us a holler. Remember, cheers to the working man.
All right, we are back one more time with the Sheik, and for a third time, I do believe we have our very special guest. And what I would say is give me back my pro wrestling's favorite wrestler, Jeremiah Plunkett. Thank you for coming on, brother. How are you today?
Thanks for having me, fellas.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Let's say 2.5 times, because I think I only talked for half of one of them.
But the show was focused around your match.
Well.
Oh, man. Yeah. That's all that matters.
Hey, it's your first time with me on here.
That's true. Yes.
Yeah. We've upgraded in the co-host department here. So we always start every show with the Sheik's favorite question. Take it away, Sheik.
All right. So this question is designed to kind of let people know your influences in wrestling and maybe just who you liked watching growing up or over the years you've just enjoyed watching. If you had a Mount Rushmore, and I always give 4 to 5, if you need 6, go ahead and throw it in there, of like your Mount Rushmore of wrestlers.
All right, so mine's different than a lot of people's, because a lot of people, like, they go, oh, it's the draw or the biggest stars. I always do my personal Mount Rushmore.
Yes.
Arn Anderson.
Oh, gosh.
Beautiful Bobby. Tracy Smothers. Jerry Lawler.
Oh, man.
That's a beautiful list, man. Wow. Yeah.
And if you want to throw a fifth that doesn't relate to them at all, but I'm a huge fan of Jumbo Tsuruta, but you wouldn't tell it in a lot of my work. I mean, maybe some, because he's more old school All Japan, but
yeah.
All the other ones, like, I steal liberally from.
Yeah. You know, where we've had a lot of guys that have done All Japan on recently, I've inadvertently watched a lot of jumbo matches. You know, Tommy Angel, Gene Ligon, Joel Deaton, those guys, they've all wrestled in that. And Jumbo was incredible, man. Super, super incredible.
Jumbo had such a crazy trajectory of his career. Like, you know, he was the chosen student of Baba, and he was just like the young, plucky, upstart wrestler. But then once, you know, he's the one who shined up Misawa and, you know, and Kawada and all the pillars. So, like, he was right before the big takeoff of All Japan, going into Noah. And, like, where he's just the grumpy old guy at the top of the mountain trying to fight all these young guys off. is just bitter, mean, nasty bully Jumbo was my favorite Jumbo.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. But, I mean, you know, going back to the rest of your list, not to cut you off, Jared, sorry, but you've actually worked on shows with 3 of those guys, right?
I've worked on shows, definitely Tracy. I've wrestled Tracy. Bobby Eaton's managed me before. I've been on shows with Lawler.
Yeah. See, I thought so.
Yeah, and I've met Arn, but no, I've never done any shows with him.
My spot.
Yeah.
No.
I'm always the Arn Anderson to Jimmy's Ric Flair. So it's
exactly. Yeah. He's always been my double A, except he's Jared. But anyway, that's a great list. And honestly, on any given day, that could be my list. That could be Jared's list. That could be anybody's list, because those guys are just. I see. You know, even though Lawler basically was the king of the territory, no pun intended, you know, those guys are all workhorses. You know what I mean? Those guys could literally work with anybody and have a good match. And that says a lot about actually you too. You know, I feel like you're one of those guys that could pull a good match out of just about anybody, man. So
I was always told that's the meaning of the job.
Yeah.
Which, you know, come to find out, it's to get over, and that's sometimes not, you know, it's easier said than done. But if you can have a match with anybody, you can stay employed.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's no doubt. Yeah, I mean, that's a great Mount Rushmore, and I think that starts off the show very well. So our next question, and this show's going to be a little different since we've had you on before. We're going to kind of touch on some things, but honestly, we're just going to have fun with this one and hopefully entertain the people. So the very first question I always start with is, tell us a little bit about your younger days. I know a lot of these, but go ahead and tell the people where you were born, where you went to high school, what sports you played in high school. Tell your younger days story.
So I was born in a town called Murfreesboro, Tennessee. I was about to say a small town, but it's not a small town anymore.
No.
I went to 2 high schools. So when I first went into high school, I was zoned for Blackman High School, and then 2 years into high school, a high school opened like right down the street because the city was growing so much that they had to go ahead and build another one. Blackman was only like 3 or 4 years old, and they had to build a whole new school, and it was Siegel High School.
Wow.
At both high schools, I played football. That was always my sport growing up. Played some baseball when I was real young, but that was boring. I was the kid who was out in the outfield just like staring off. You know what I mean? Especially during like coach pitch.
Yeah.
You know, none of these kids could hit it out there. So I'm like playing in the grass and stuff. But I remember I was playing because they just move you wherever in coach pitch, because none of us are really that, you know, there's a couple good kids and then everyone else is just kind of there to do something. But they moved me to catcher, and someone tried to steal home, and I just ran them over, and I was like, I like this contact thing. So I started football after that. So I played football all through high school. When I went to Siegel on top of football, that's when I started amateur wrestling. And I was decent. I was a state qualifier. I wasn't great or anything. You know, I was probably around 500, maybe a little over. But and yeah, I mean, that was and I guess that's actually where pro wrestling started too. Around then, probably around high school, got into the backyard wrestling.
Yeah. Jay Phoenix.
Even before then, it was JP.
Even before then. Well, what was it? JP Dangerously. I love it. I'm sorry, I forgot that. That's my bad. Yeah.
In my mind, I was Paulie's nephew.
Nice.
That's what I was going to ask. How were you related to Paulie there?
Yeah. I guess when he did his run through the Memphis territory, he got around.
Yeah, that's a crazy story that, you know, I've heard some things about how there was going to be WCW was going to come to USWA and it was going to be basically what it was for the WWE not soon after that, but that Eddie and Paul cut the deal off once they found out that it was going to happen, and they tried to get it killed. It's a crazy story. We talked about it on the Kevin Lawler episode. But anyway, yeah, that's cool. So when did you start liking wrestling? Do you remember what was your first memory of wrestling?
I can remember it being on when I was really, really young. And like, I know I had, you know, like the Hulk Hogan stuff, Wrestling Buddy. And, you know, I had an Ultimate Warrior, like booties that had his head on the toes of them. Crazy stuff like that. But
yeah.
Did you have those too, Sheik?
No, he's probably wanting to buy them.
I'm looking on eBay for them right now. No,
dude, that'd be rad if they were there. That'd be crazy because I vividly remember those. But like really falling in love with it was when I discovered Memphis Wrestling, because it had a different feel to it. I always watched it. Like, don't get me wrong. You know, Saturday morning after cartoons, then you'd have the like syndicated shows and stuff like that coming on. And I just remember flipping through and catching Memphis Wrestling. I'm like, what's this?
Yeah. And
it was just, you know, it was lower budget, but it seemed more raw and real. And like they broke out into fights, and the fights seemed believable. The promos didn't, you know, they weren't, let me tell you something, brother. They were, you know, Lawler cutting somebody down, Dundee cutting somebody down, Dutch cutting somebody down, them getting in a fist fight. You know, there was blood. You know, that was my ECW before I discovered ECW.
Nice. Yeah. I mean, Memphis really is the OG hardcore company, you know. It's the OG a lot of things, but, you know, and that's the exact same thing I think Jared and I felt when we saw Mid-Atlantic and we saw Crockett on TBS. It was definitely different. It wasn't as brightly colored, and, you know, it had, you know, I remember seeing Wahoo McDaniel and the Italian Stallion wrestling, and I was like, oh my God, why can't I stop watching this, you know? And I loved Wahoo, you know, and, you know, when it comes down to it, though, I definitely understand what you're saying, because, you know, it seemed like WWF was almost like a cartoon basically to us at that point, you know, versus
cartoon that we loved. But
yeah, of course.
Well, and in the early 90s WCW, same way. You know, that's when they had all the young pistols, which, you know, loved both the guys in it, but come on, man, couldn't be the Southern Boys. You know, that's when they started getting really weird with things.
Exactly. Yeah.
Norman the Lunatic.
Yeah. You got Steve Armstrong and Tracy Armstrong. We always joke that he's the Step Armstrong. So, you know.
Oh, they practically always said that.
Yeah, exactly.
So what was your start in wrestling, and, you know, like your first match, maybe first promotion you worked for, and everything like that?
Okay, so little backstory to get to that. So I thought I was going to play college football. But I played offensive line and stopped growing at 5. So there's not a whole bunch of 5'10" offensive linemen, especially for bigger schools. I did get a couple scholarship offers, but they're to private universities, which even after the scholarship, I would have been paying like $10,000 a year to go. And, you know, we were barely middle class. So, you know, mom looked at me and was like, I'm not paying $10,000 a year for you to play football, which I understood. So that's when I was like, okay, well, let me look into this wrestling thing. So I would go to local indie shows on the weekends, and man, I had no idea. I probably could have Googled, but, you know, the internet was still new-ish in 01.
Yeah.
And so I'd just go to local indie shows, and as the guys were on the way to the ring, I'd ask them if they trained people. And that's how I ended up hooking up with trainers. Me and Mike Woods buzzed up, and Lee Condry. It was mainly Mikey and Buzz. That's who I spoke to anyway. Lee had the ring at his house, so, you know, Lee became a trainer by default because he was there, and he would throw his 2 cents in. I trained from February 05 until, well, I don't want to say until July 05 because I trained after that as well. But I had my first match July 23rd, 2005. I was a fill-in. Lee had somebody who wasn't going to be able to make it to his show, so I was a fill-in in the main event. Strangely enough, I was a member of a heel group called the Black Stallions.
Nice.
Nice.
In which I was the only Caucasian fellow. It was me, D'Angelo, and the Psycho Medic.
Yeah.
and we were taking on Lee Condrey, GQ, and White Trash.
Ooh.
And the match was a tornado tag, falls count anywhere, hardcore match. So I got color. My first match was slammed on thumbtacks my first match, and took a finish through light tubes my first match.
Oh, my
Golly.
And I did not become a deathmatch guy because of that.
Right. Yeah. Man.
Wow.
So yeah, great intro there. And so you could have stayed that path. Obviously, you could have stayed that hardcore local, worry about your next $10, payoff, and you could have stayed that style. But you knew, probably, I would assume that you knew you did not want to stay that style, right?
Well, A, yes. B, I wasn't getting paid for that.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I didn't get paid for that. After the match, I went and took a shower, and then was getting hurried up to come and take down the ring.
Yeah, exactly.
And was picking light tubes out of my back for 3 days.
My God.
But no, I stayed there for about 6 months. And it wasn't all hardcore stuff, but they were a hardcore kind of
focused company.
Yeah, kind of like, so every month they'd have what they called the chaos match, and it was everybody on the roster, all the referees out there, and everyone's just fighting in the entire building, and it's elimination, last person standing gets a trophy type thing. They do that once a month, but they would always have some kind of giving matches. I know I did my first chain match there. I did those chaos matches. I did a whole lot of craziness, but the normal matches weren't always like that. In fact, I remember one time, because I was trying to go totally opposite, I was wrestling a guy named Slade, and we had this idea of doing like a pure wrestling rules match, which that crowd did not give a crap about.
Right.
They're like, "What? Do a punch." Well, we can't. That's not in the rules. That's stupid.
They've got rules to this stuff.
Yeah. We were trying to do the whole, had them announce a rope break. We only got 3 of them and all that stuff. And it was just too much. It was too much for that crowd.
Yeah.
So I was there for probably about 6 months. And then Buzzed Up was going to Columbia to start working there for Shane Morton. And he brought me with him. And that's where I really started learning stuff, started making, when I say making money, not netting any money, but like getting an envelope with, some dollars in it at the end of the night.
Yeah. That's good. And thank the world of both of those guys. And man, I keep saying it, but we got to get Buzzed Up on. Yeah. So, we're going to kind of veer off the path of the normal questions, and we're going to, because we have had you on before, I want to kind of ask some different questions, because I tried to think of some questions, and I told Jared, let's think of some questions we've never heard him answer. And also, just interesting stuff we can talk to about these topics with a wrestler. So I want to start, and this is kind of almost, this could be any part of your career, but the question what's one thing or a couple things that you've learned from someone like Tracy Smothers or Bobby Eaton or somebody that was a super respected vet that you always make sure to pass on to someone that is listening to you? What would you say is one thing that you've learned?
So from Tracy specifically, because Tracy had so many, like, his lessons, a lot of his lessons were in like little catchphrases, right? And sometimes they're just stuff said to be funny. But, he, like another thing, the one thing he'd always say, like, you'd be going to a town and you'd pass some big house or whatever, and he'd go, "See those people? They don't care that we go to town to make tonight."
Right.
They don't care that we're 3 hours away from Evansville and running late, and hopefully we'll get paid, but they're probably not going to draw.
They don't care that brother got a bump,
Yeah. What was it? He goes, "They're just trying to care if they want cheese crackers or peanut butter crackers in their lunch tomorrow. That's all they care about."
Exactly.
So that was one thing about Tracy, that is like in real life, no one cares what we're doing. You know what I mean? Like the normal people don't understand or care what we're doing. So if they have an opinion on it, why do we take any credence in what they have to say? Which is funny, because Tracy's also the same guy who, if you called wrestling fake, he'd pull your eye out. So, you know what I mean? So
right, exactly.
It's funny that he gave that advice. But I don't know, man. Tracy was always big on the whole, and I know there's it in video, but you do this, hold up 2 fists. I'll do this, hold up 2 hands. That's all we need. We can work to 100 if we work with that.
Yeah.
It's not, wrestling is not that hard overall. And, so the wrestlers are the ones who overcomplicate it.
And to me, Tracy, it's just a shame, we lost him and for no other reason other than the fact that we lost a great human being. But I'm sure that hit you pretty hard, right? Losing him.
Extremely. I got the call pretty early. Actually, I think if I remember right, I think Buzz smartened me up when he died. And I had to call Chase. And how tight they were. So having to be the one to tell Chase, and I had to tell a lot of people.
Yeah,
and it was a morning of making phone calls that I did not want to make. It still hits me, man. I'll find myself going down a rabbit hole of Tracy Smothers videos on YouTube, and laughing, crying, going back and forth.
Yeah, man. Yeah, there's a match that I think it was in WCW he was working, and I shared the video. It's been a while back now, but man, he was just, his storytelling ability was on par with some of the very best ever. You know what I mean? He could just tell a great story, and he was just so incredibly talented. But the funny part is nobody really got to see his super funny part unless you watched his ECW stuff, which was very humorous and stuff, but you never truly got to see the funniest parts of Tracy. One of my favorite things I've ever seen Tracy do is the Bobby Eaton and his match in IWA Mid-South, where they get the riot going and Bobby would just dip on him.
Tracy's been having time fighting the fans.
Exactly. And Bobby, you'll be like, where's Bobby at? And Bobby's in the back. Oh man. Yeah.
Oh, hey, that actually brings up a story, and it's kind of skipping ahead. But
that's okay.
We were in Carrier Mills, Illinois. Burt Prentice would run they do a festival up there every year, and that's Mike Rapata, the Colorado kid's hometown, which is funny. Colorado kid from Illinois. But so that's his hometown. So they do the big festival and have wrestling on the square every year. So I go up one year. I believe this is 2009, and we're in some tag. I forgot how the match was, but I believe it was a tag. But it's me, Sean Schultz, and Tony Lucchesio, and it's Steve-O and whoever he tagged with or whatever.
Yeah.
These people believe it's real, and there's no barricades or anything because it's in the middle of there's a carnival right next door and all this stuff, right?
Yes, I've worked.
And they're surrounded. Yeah. Oh, okay. You've done the Carrier Mills, dude?
Yeah, I definitely have. Yeah, it's crazy.
Okay. So you know exactly what I'm talking about. And did you guys dress in the coffee shop?
Yes, we definitely did. Yeah.
Okay, so this will all make sense to you. So match is over. We look around. There's no Sean, and these people are rapid. So we're going through the crowd trying to find Sean, fighting off people, covering up, whatever. We can't find him. We finally give up. We slide into that coffee shop. He's sitting there talking to Burt Prentice. We're like, where were you? We've been out there for 5 minutes trying to find you. He goes, dude, I ran straight to the back as soon as the match was over.
Yeah.
I'm like, we've just fought the entire town.
Oh man, I'm so glad you brought that up because I had forgotten the name of the town that we worked in the center of this place with this big carnival going on or whatever, the fair or whatever. And yeah, I'd forgotten the name of that town. So I'm so glad you brought that up. But I know it was a long weekend and Burt was bringing a lot of the Porter guys up to work.
Now, Burt would run Metropolis every now and then because he kicked he got a company that was running there prior. Chaos Pro Wrestling kicked out of their place in Metropolis. They would run the Baymont Inn up there. Biggest rip about Metropolis, though, is as you're driving in to see the statue, there's a grocery store called Big John or Big Jim or something like that, and that statue's bigger than the Superman statue. And it's on the way to see it. I'm like, what a rib.
Yeah, that's yeah, you're right. Oh my gosh. Okay, well let's go into the next. Jared, go ahead, ask your question.
All right. So you talked about some of your hardcore starts there with not really your thing and some of the crazy matches that were involved, but talk about some of the craziest guys that you've ever worked with or worked around in the business.
Oh God, there's a guy, he doesn't wrestle anymore, and it's unfortunate because he was really good. His name was Lone Star. So Lone Star, as you can tell by the name, native of Texas, he played center for the Kentucky Wildcats.
Oh.
Big guy, had a tank that wouldn't quit. Though, like you couldn't blow him up.
Oh, wow.
And he could go and he'd take huge bumps. He would do whatever, and he was up there. I didn't have a whole lot of crazy matches with him just because he was on top of the cards. I was starting out. I was real young. I did wrestle him a few times. I do remember he would always have matches break down into a brawl because he thought that was really exciting, and I kind of took that from him too. Like, you start out wrestling, but it should devolve into a fight. Yeah. I remember we were fighting in Lewisburg, Tennessee, and we got into the brawl, and we're brawling a little bit on the outside, but it's mostly, I'm mostly just listening to him and selling for him because he's,
right.
I'm 5'10", 220. He's a, former UK center. He's huge. And I just remember he goes, backdrop me. I'm like, we're on the floor. There's 12 people in the crowd. And he just comes running at me. So I'm like, oh crap, and bend over and I backdrop him. And like, I don't know, he never, here could be 12 people in the crowd. He's not taking a night off. He's going to try to give him everything, which I see both sides of that, right? Like I see, you don't want to cheat him, but you can also save your body if it's not a big crowd. But no, Star was nuts. I wrestled Gypsy Joe numerous times.
Yeah.
I think age took a lot of his physical ability crazy out. Mm-hmm. But this is also the same guy. He was convinced, he took a liking to me, and he was convinced that I knew how to do the old knuckle, split the eyebrow open.
Oh, my God.
Because Joe didn't like to use a blade.
Right.
And I was like, Joe, I've never done it. And he goes, oh, and he walks me through it. I'm like, okay, cool. I'll give it a try. And I'm punching. His head's calcified. He's gotten color so many times. His head's just nothing but scar tissue. And I'm punching and nothing and nothing and nothing. And you'll probably have to bleep this. But he looks at me. I go, Joe, I can't. My knuckles hurt. And he's like, oh, you pussy motherfucker. I made a barbed wire. And like, I go and like hold barbed wire against his head. He just takes it and jams it in his head and rakes it across. God. And he looks at me again and goes, you pussy. So he was crazy. Star was crazy in a different way than Joe. Joe was doing this at 70 when he was wrestling me. So that's probably crazier than anybody else I could name.
Yeah, no doubt. You weren't there the night of the New Jack match, were you?
I was not. I don't know if I was in the business yet. I can't remember what year that happened.
Okay, that might have been might have been too soon. I know I wasn't in yet, and I know I think that was at Freddie's auction house or something.
It was. I've definitely wrestled in that building, and know just about everybody who was on the card that night. But I was not there for sure, and I can't remember. Like I said, I can't remember what year that happened.
Yeah, I can't either.
It all blurs together. I think it's
yeah.
I love when you look online though. They talk about like how New Jack beat the crap out of Joe, and I'm like, I see that a little differently. I saw Joe take a baseball bat to the head and get right back up.
Exactly. Yeah, there wasn't no crap getting peed out of him.
Yeah,
I mean, we've often heard if Joe was 20 years younger, New Jack probably wouldn't have
been a different story.
Yeah. It would have definitely been a different story. I'm not saying the fight wouldn't have broke out, because New Jack ain't scared of nobody, but
yeah,
I don't know if it would have been what it was.
Right. It would have been much more even, and because when he wrapped his hair up, that was the problem. And then, man, it was But then, what was it that Mike Porter breaks it up and says it was something in football? What is that? Unnecessary roughness or something?
Oh this match was stopped for unnecessary roughness or something like that.
A hardcore match was stopped. That's Mike Porter, y'all. If you've never known Mike, that's exactly Porter right there. So, yeah. Oh, man. Well, that kind of leads me into us working together in Nashville. And I know we've talked about this before, and I don't want to beat a dead horse. Let's just say that. But, working together, man, was a lot of fun for me. I definitely appreciated the time we had together. I was in a weird spot in my life. We've talked about this a million times. But, to be able to work with you and Drew, and I remember the first time I worked with you, I think was at a benefit, and I remember Jeff Daniels was there, and I think I managed you and Dyron or you and Jablonski or somebody like that. And that was the first time I think I took a road trip with you, if I'm not mistaken. and we met, and I just remember, man, it was always cool after that. I just was like, you know, I see a kinship in this guy. And, you know, it's so funny because you were a veteran to me and you're younger than me. You know what I'm saying? And so at that time I was a newcomer still paying my dues. And I remember, you know, you're kind of becoming a well-oiled machine at that time as far as, you know, the things you were doing. And I remember learning things from you guys, the young guys, and because I related most to you because of my time in the business. You know what I'm saying? And yeah. So it was a lot of fun, man. And I will say this, managing you and Drew and the Untouchables, if I had it to do over again, brother, it would have been a totally different story now, man. But hey, we don't have that time to take back, do we?
No, there's definitely nothing to take back. I wish that run would have went longer. I really do.
Me too.
Just with you know, Drew had, you know, which I mean, he's, you know, got kids now and stuff like that. And that's why, you know, why he left anyway, because he had a kid on the way. But man, that run was so good. I think if we could have kept it up, we could have done something, just because we were really well oiled as a tag team.
Oh, y'all are incredible. And I'll go back and watch the matches now. I think a couple weeks ago, I watched a match with you guys in it. And I was like, man, it's tough for me to watch, even though I enjoy it. It's tough for me to watch because I don't feel like I was at my best. And so I see what I could have been managing. And it was, you know, it was just a bad time for me. And, you know, like I've said before, I was coming out from under the Omar gimmick. I didn't know how to be just Jimmy Street. And I you know, when you hide behind a gimmick, you can do that. And actually some people I'm sure have done it and gone on to very successful things, hiding behind a gimmick, not being able to show their true self and letting out that character. And when that character was taken off of me, and I've said it a million times, I was happy about it. I did not understand what it took to be me. And I remember there was one promo and I felt so incredibly bad about it. We're standing there on the wall at Saw and Drew started, you took it over, and then I was to say something to wrap it up, and I screwed it up like 6 or 7 times, and y'all were doing it so awesome, and you like turned around and you were like, all right, man, you say this, we got this, and it was like boom, and I got it. And I just remember feeling so bad because y'all were like, you know, y'all were at your, not say prime, but what I'm saying is y'all knew the whole story and you knew what you were telling. And I was just like, blah, blah, oh, wait. Yeah, sorry. My bad. Let's do that over. And I don't know if you remember that time, but there's actually a video of it on Saw, on the Saw channel and Nashville Wrestling Network, by the way, go subscribe. But I just remember I was so embarrassed because I was just thinking, man, I'm screwing this up so bad. But the shoe was fun, man, getting to use the JJ gimmick, you know.
I was sitting there thinking one of my favorite finishes we ever did was I'm taking the Terry Funk teeter-totter.
And you're hanging there so long, too. I felt so bad.
He slid me the shoe. He pulls me back up. I clock him in the head with it. I still love that. It wasn't we didn't do it the smoothest we could have done, but it still got the point across. Because with the Washington Bullets, I remember those matches are fun.
Oh, dude, what you all against them they could put that on AEW right now, and it would be an incredible match. I'm telling you, y'all worked so well with them, and it's got to be partially them, right? They were great. So
no, they were. It was weird too because they were like really big spot guys, and me and Drew, you would think we were, but we called all that stuff in the ring,
right?
And so like it was a weird mix.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it always worked out well. I wish, too, we would have stuck together just because, like, we had that long feud with Nick and Carrie.
Yeah.
But they were young. You know what I mean? I would love to redo it again with, like, seasoned Nick and Carrie.
Yeah. Do you talk to Drew still much?
He will hit me up every now and then. It went for a while, a couple years. He kept going, man, I'm getting the itch. And I'm like, I can get us some matches booked. And then, like, I wouldn't hear from him again. And he did that twice, I think. And then after the third time, he said it, and I'm like, cool. Because me and Carrie would immediately start being like, who can we get this match with?
Yeah.
You know, who will book this match so we can do it again? And then when it just stopped happening, we're like, all right, he's getting the itch, but life's not going to let him pay it off, so it's not going to happen.
Right. Well, we miss you, Drew. Hopefully everything's Yeah, man. And hopefully the family's doing good. And in the regard, he won, man. He got the family. You've won too. You got a beautiful wife and a nice home you're building there and putting together such a nice life for yourself. But, Drew won, man. A lot of guys would say, looking back, we had Gene Ligon on just recently, and he said, if I would have stayed at my job teaching, I would have a pension now and be retired, but I stayed in wrestling and now I'm still working, so there's a part of that you got to say Drew actually got out and won. Even though he gets the itch, he still, he got what he wanted, and that's good. Can't blame him.
And I'm sure he's getting around a lot better than I am most days. So.
Yeah, but man, every time, and no disrespect to FTR, I do think they're one of the great tag teams going right now. Absolutely, no question. That's unanimous, I'm sure. But every time I watch them wrestle, I'm like, man, I could just see the Untouchables doing that right now, man. And maybe that's grandiose, maybe that's crazy for me to say, but I see that you guys were kind of doing that Arn and Tully thing, and now they've kind of tried to turn it. You all were the perfect blend of the Midnight Express and the Brainbusters, essentially, or Arn and Tully, if you want to say it. But they're kind of taking that over now. But y'all had that, So
that was Midnight Express, Heart Foundation, Tully and Arn. That was where we got everything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That was our Mount Rushmore. I think there might have been a little Bulldogs in there, but I don't know how much we actually did of theirs.
Right.
But that's the people we watched.
Dude, that is the Mount Rushmore, man.
Yeah.
Other than rock and roll somewhere in there, that's the Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, well, there's some rock and roll when we were babyface.
Right.
That was our deal. Whoever took the heat had to do the roll into the hot tag.
God, I love that. Yeah, it's so good.
We did that one night before rock and roll, like we were the match before then. And I came to the back and Ricky goes, "Man, you're stealing all my stuff."
Oh man. I remember managing Norte in a match. Your now new neighbor, man, Chris Norte. Yeah. I remember managing Norte in a match with Ricky Morton, and I remember I had already managed Jermaine or Seven, and I'd already managed Dyron, right? And so usually in the Omar Alcazan Corporation, at that point, if I'd gone out twice, which is actually more than I think should even happen nowadays, Dyron would go out and represent the corporation with Norte. Well, when I found out that Norte was wrestling Ricky Morton, I know that I stood in front of the entire locker room and said, I am managing Chris Norte tonight. That is happening. I don't care who I've been out there with because he's wrestling Ricky Morton. And I'm sure a couple guys are like, man, that's about the markiest thing I've ever heard in my life. And I said, I don't care. I am managing. I don't know that I'll ever get this opportunity again. And I didn't. So I'm glad I did it. But going out there with Norte, and I remember the last thing Ricky said to us as we walked out, he said, hey, Bubba, just don't hurt me.
Yeah.
And Norte, you got to know, I know you know Norte, but everybody else, Norte was not going to hurt anybody. That is not, he's a very safe worker. He was not going to hurt anybody. But just to know, and I could just imagine Ricky saying that a million times to different guys, and man, a lot of fun. A young Kerry Morton running around, me having to keep an eye on him as Ricky's in the match. And the coolest thing Ricky ever said to me, and this is not my show, so I'm sorry I'm stealing everything, but he said, when you came out there, I wish we'd have give you more, man. I wish we'd have done more with you. And it's like, brother, you didn't even have to. You saying that means as much as me as us doing it, So that was important.
Ricky's awesome. It was so funny. I don't know how long it was before Chris wrestled Ricky, but I'd had my first match with Ricky because I remember calling Chris and being like, oh my God, like blah, blah, and like describing the match to him. And I remember Chris calling me after your match with him, like the next day or something, or maybe a couple days later.
Yeah.
And he told me verbatim that Ricky did the exact same opening he did with me.
That's awesome.
I'm like, that's man, that's his go-to apparently, and which I have, and I think Chris has also. Well, he didn't wrestle much anymore, but I think we both really stole it.
Yeah. That's awesome. So what's up, Chris? Good to see you're back in the state. And go ahead, Sheik.
All right, so Plunkie, if you had a time machine, I'm a big on these what if situations. If you had a time machine and you could go back to any point in wrestling and wrestle somebody, like who would that be? And like give me kind of a little setup of like why it would be them.
Hackenschmidt in Madison.
Yeah.
so I can grab that headlock and just. I don't know, man. I think I would have liked early '80s Memphis, like not 88, 89, anything like that. I'm talking like 82, 83.
Yeah.
Who would I work? I'm trying to think of my timelines to make sure I'm about right. And because I never had the match with Lawler, I want to say Lawler, but honestly, I feel like I would have had a better match with Dutch around that time, because that's also the time that Dutch was rivaling Lawler in a lot of towns as the biggest babyface.
Yeah.
He's one of the few ones who put a dent in that. Lawler's the top babyface. Oh, and they just had such a different style. I think I would have had more fun wrestling Dutch. Yeah. Dutch could brawl, Dutch could wrestle. I'm not saying Lawler's a one trick, but like, you're not going in there and wrestling with Lawler to start it out. You can do some, but Dutch would take you down, ride, you exchange holds. He was a better wrestler per se than Lawler. And I don't know, man. Dutch's promos were so good.
Yeah,
Lawler was great, but I don't know, Dutch. Lawler was always trying to get the quick one-liner in,
right,
to sound cool, and Dutch just said what he said.
Yeah, Dutch still says what he says.
Yeah,
you gotta love him for it, man. He's one of the most real dudes in the business, and he doesn't care. He's at that point now where he's like, you know what? I'll say what I feel because that's how it should be. And
I will say I don't think every idea Dutch has ever had is a good idea.
No,
one time I was running around with him and he thought, he said, we need to put a gimmick on you. I think you should be the great-great-grandson of a Western gunslinger.
Uh-huh.
And he was serious. Cap guns, cowboy hat. And I'm like, I don't think I could do that.
James Storm is doing that maybe, but.
Well, as soon as he said the cap guns, that's what I thought was like indie James Storm. And I'm like,
Yeah. Who would it have been? Earp or Billy the Kid or somebody like that?
He wanted me to keep the name.
Oh, okay.
He just wanted to say that it was in my family and wanted me to go real Western gimmick. And I'm just like, I don't know if that's me, man.
Yeah. I mean, he put the Brody gimmick on Josephus, right? Am I right about that? Or did he?
That he did. Yeah. He saw him, and this is after Joe had started getting kind of big and it's growing his beard and hair out. And
yeah.
I mean, I've never seen anyone look closer.
Oh, no. He nailed that one for sure. I met Joe, and we've told this a million times too, but I met Joe at the Springwater Supper Club one night, and he was still doing the Shelby Street Brawler look because he was still, that wasn't a look, that was his look, you know what I mean? Because he's starting to do camera for wrestling at that time. I remember meeting him, and he was like, man, you ought to come out and stuff. And I'm like, well, I will. And we did. And man, witnessing matches, and I can't remember if you were on that show or not, but I remember Wolfie was. I remember Kid Cash was on the show, and we would see. That was a great little spot, the Stadium Inn, man. You got to love the Falks. So
Stadium Inn, it was something.
Yeah, definitely something for sure.
It's so weird that like a crack hotel in the middle of downtown Nashville had so no. That's not a Jared. That's not an exaggeration.
I know. I'm just. It's just so funny to imagine a wrestling show going on. Right. But from everything I heard, I know that's true. But
there was a sign on the front desk that said "No prostitutes and drug dealers, take your business elsewhere."
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And they thought it meant there. They were like, okay, just around the corner.
You mean upstairs?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, man. Yeah. So this one's going to kind of lead into a question, but my wife told me to ask this question because she likes this question. I think it's a good question too, so I appreciate her input. But she said, "What is the most famous person in your cell phone?"
Oh, I think. God, I don't know. I just exchanged numbers with Bobby Blaze this past weekend. I know that's random, but
yeah. Let's go. Might need to snag that from you.
I've got Dave Milliken in my phone.
That's
We'll randomly chat, especially if I have a belt question. I'm like, there's nobody else I'd rather.
No, you can't. Yeah. I ask him questions as much as I can. Yeah, he's the one.
EC3, That's up there pretty good.
Dude, I think that one, yeah.
Just, I mean, I've got Ricky in here.
Right.
So I guess it kind of depends on, you know.
What do you mean by
what you like in wrestle. Jerry Lynn.
Yeah. Jerry's great.
EC3, as long as you've got him talking more than WWE, let him talk on the main roster.
Right.
Geez, right.
What a messed up deal that is, man. They blew a chance with him. So.
I can't believe they let, Moxley, Ambrose, whatever, basically bury him when Moxley was leaving. I mean, it doesn't make sense.
No, and I don't think they had. I don't think they knew what they had. If we're being honest, I got Nick Aldis in here.
Yeah.
Simon Diamond. I mean, so I guess it kind of depends. Probably EC3's former 3-time world champion. So yeah, we can go there.
But dude, Nick Aldis is on TV, not even cable. He's on network television every Friday night.
Dexter Lumis.
So yeah, Dexter. Oh man, dude, a great story about.
Under that, I had to remember his WWE name.
Plunkie, do you remember the night I got hard weighed by Sam? I mean Dexter.
Yeah, when it was it the leg drop?
Yes, it was was it the Alabama Jam? Is that what he did, or was it just his leg?
The big top rope cannonball leg drop?
Yeah, dude. I remember. I think it either you or Crimson hit me with the Macho Man elbow first, and then Sam came off and caught me and I turned my head up at the wrong time, and he busted my lip wide open. He felt so bad about it, and I thought it was hilarious. First of all, that was like my last night for Porter, so when I had all that blood, I just spit it all in the ring. I was like, "There you go, buddy."
It was all of our last nights at Porter.
It was. I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
That's when I was helping book.
Right, because I said, "Bro, help me book."
Was it? I think it was me and Sam working against Jeff and Crimmy.
Okay, yeah, you're right. I think so.
So you would have been managing probably Jeff, and you've been managing Jeff and Crimmy.
Right,
I assume, because that's
so. Then it was you that hit me with the elbow, or you hit me with something off the top rope.
If I came off the top, it would have been an elbow, because I'd given up the leg drop a long time ago.
Yeah, man. But Sam had a beautiful leg drop, man.
Oh, yeah.
He is, if you want to say underused, that guy is one of the most underused, underrated guys out there as far as talent. He's just, that gimmick is so cool. I love that creepy, is he good guy? Is he bad guy? Is he, what is he here for? I think that gimmick is so, and it could go so many different ways, and he's uber talented. And plus, he's a great artist too. I mean, a Jerry Lawler quality artist. You know what I mean? Comic book level.
I've got a picture hanging up in my office that we were sitting at OVW just BSing, and he sketched out while we were talking.
I remember that.
And handed it to me. So it's sitting up in the office. But yeah, dude, he's so talented in a lot of different ways, and that's how. If I remember the story right, I believe he told me early on when he was working in Indies, because he trained at Team 3D from Florida.
Yeah.
That he was working, his part-time job was working at Universal as one of those like sketch people.
That makes sense. Yeah.
And that's what he'd do to, as Tracy would say, that was a shoot job to support his wrestling habit.
Yeah.
But he's doing real good now. He just opened a wrestling school. Down in Florida. It's him. Tom Latimer moved down there, and he's one of his coaches. And John Davis.
Man, that's
called the Hatchet Pro Wrestling School.
Okay, so you opened up a couple questions for me there. One, is he not with the Fed anymore?
No, he still is.
Okay, I thought so. I was hoping that was the case. And then Tom Latimer is another guy that I cannot believe they've missed the boat on him, man. I'm glad for the success he's having in the NWA. I think he gives the NWA a legitimate guy that not only looks and acts the part, but is a real deal dude. I just feel like they missed the ball on him too, man. I can't believe that. But
well, and some of that, and Tom's talked on it in interviews. He had a lot of demons.
Sure,
that he had to beat. And,
so did the owner of that company. But we'll get on to that.
Fair enough. And Tom's demons are nothing like that.
Right.
But But now Tom is one of the most talented guys I've ever. And like we've never wrestled each other. We were both training at the Tried and True School when that was open. He was doing the advanced class. I was doing the beginners. And like one day we just went and chain wrestled for like 10 minutes, and I'm like, oh, I forget that you're from Britain and you can do all this.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? He goes, yeah. He goes, they always book me in this crazy stuff, so that's what I do. He goes, but I can do this stuff.
Yeah.
He's so good.
Oh, dude, he reminds me of like a Paul Orndorff, Ronnie Garvin kind of style a little bit. You know, just a tough guy that can chain wrestle and can put a hurting on you if he needs to, you know, and he just has that vibe about him. I don't know if you get that, and it's okay if you don't, but, you know, Tom, to me, I just feel like is a somebody they've missed the boat on. So speaking of all that, you know, obviously you know them, and you know them because you work for NWA. Okay, let me ask you this. How did you get to the NWA? And I know we are skipping around, and that's okay because this is the show we're doing, but how getting to the NWA, tell that story.
So a little backstory on that. In 2019, I had hurt my neck. I don't even know how I did it, but I had hurt my neck. So I took 3 months off, I think, and I, went under like a lot of chiropractic care and spinal decompression and stuff like that. So I come back in February. I have a match. Okay, cool. My win was bad, but other than that, I did all right. Have a couple more matches, and then the world shuts down.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And, so here I am coming off, I don't want to say a serious injury. It's not like I broke my neck, but I compressed some discs. You know what I mean? And I'm just getting, or not married yet, but I'm, going into getting married. And it's just like, maybe wrestling's done. Because I didn't think wrestling was going to come back from the shutdown.
Yeah.
It's kind of a sport that requires an audience.
It does.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You can play football in front of no people. It's really hard to wrestle in front of no people.
Right.
So I was kind of like, I don't want to say I'd come to terms with being done, but I'd come to terms as much as I would allow myself with being done. But I'd still go down. Carrie Offel was running a school in Tullahoma. And that's when I started losing the weight and stuff. And I was doing that for health reasons, not even for wrestling. And I'd go down with Carrie just as a fun way to do cardio because I still hate to run. And I was working out one day, and I got a phone call from a New Jersey area code. And I know absolutely nobody from New Jersey, so I ignored it. But then I got a text from that same area code, and it's like, hi, this is Pat Kenny. I want to talk to you about working with the NWA. So I immediately rolled out of the ring and, made a phone call. And it turns out, so Pat replaced Dave Lagana as head of talent relations when the NWA came back after the pandemic. And back in 2012 or 13, I believe it had to be 12, maybe even the end of 11. I had done a gut check for TNA, and it's one of the live event ones where it's basically just like paid tryout type thing. And Pat was the guy who was over that gut check. So he had remembered me from all the way back then, which blew my mind. But yeah, so I went down there, and as soon as I saw Pat, he shook my hand, and I went to introduce him and reintroduce myself because I don't think anybody's going to know me. But I was like, hey, Pat, I don't know if you remember, but and he goes, oh no, I remember. That's why I called you. He goes, I asked Crimson if he still had your number, and I called you right then. He goes, I liked you then, but I didn't have any power to give you an opportunity. Maybe I can now. And that was April 2021, I think, maybe February. It was early in 2021.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, whenever they came back.
Yeah, that makes sense. So when you got there, did they kind of say, hey, look, this is what we need from you, this is what we're expecting? Or was it just like, hey, here's a match, and we'll, if you get another one, it'll be here, that kind of thing? What was that initial, like your first match in the NWA and all that? How did that go?
So actually the matches I had aired out of order that they were taped. But the first match I had was actually against one of the kids I helped train, Mims. And all we were told is 50-50, babyface up, and that's it. And we gave him a match. It was all right. Mims has come a long way now, but he's still pretty green then because he started taking bookings, I think 2019.
Okay.
So he didn't get a lot of reps, and then coming into this, but we got through it, and I was just, I don't know, I think I've always just kind of been how did Steve Austin put it, a mechanic. This guy can go in there and have a good match with people, and that's kind of been where I've been as far as with the NWA. Is I'm just kind of
carpenter.
Kind of a carpenter guy, and which is, like I said, it keeps you employed.
Right.
But that's really been all any direction I've ever been given. Got to do a little bit of stuff with the Ill Begotten. Even before it just was down to a tag team of me and Alex. It was like the land of misfit toys, guys who didn't fit in anywhere else.
Right.
And it ended up becoming a tag with me and Alex. And then when they split us up, it was, just kind of back to being a mechanic.
Yeah. Yeah. You and Danny and Deals, you gotta put him over, man.
Oh, 100. He's actually, he may have suggested me because he was working backstage at the time. But I know Pat remembered me. But like Deals is the reason a lot of the people are there.
Gotcha. Okay.
You know what I mean? Because if they're in an area, if they're in the South and that's not Florida, and they need some people, they ask him.
Yeah.
But he's going to get them reliable people who are going to get the job done and impress. He's helped out more people than a lot of people recognize. Like I don't think a lot of people understand what Danny Deals, not only what he does backstage and now on commentary. He jokingly calls himself Pro Wrestling's 5-tool player. But like it's legit. He manages. He can work production. He works merchandise.
He has good promos. He's a good stick man. So
yeah. He can bump.
Yeah,
he's getting a little. When we had that Beelzebub Bedlam match or whatever it was at the Chase, and he had to take that big choke slam from Judas. I think he's like, these bumps might be limited, but other than that, he can do everything. Like, he's a trained wrestler. A lot of guys don't know that because he's always managed. But,
right.
He's a trained wrestler. He doesn't do it a lot, but
yeah,
he did when Alex hurt his shoulder. Though all the Ill Begotten tag matches we had ended up becoming Alex being the manager and Deals doing the wrestling. That's who I finally got my match with Rock and Roll Express, and it was me and Danny Deals.
Hey bro, however you get it, right?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, that's cool, man. And he's I always think he's one of those guys that's very intelligent about keeping himself important to a company. You know what I mean? And he did it with TNA forever. You know what I mean? Yeah. And a lot of people may not know that. I mean, anybody that works in our area knew that. But when it comes down to it, I mean, he's not joking about that 5-tool deal. He's a very talented guy. I always knew that if he was around and he was going to be on a show, very rarely did we ever work a show together, but when he was around, I was like, man, I got to get my game up because this guy, and that's a good thing for anyone to have someone who makes you want to work harder, right? I mean,
yeah, and that's how he's made himself invaluable. Is he's an extremely hard worker.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like a lot of guys in wrestling are going to do the bare minimum, but he always goes above and beyond. He helps everybody out, and man, one of the best people on the road. We just did a shot in Huntington, West Virginia, this past Saturday. So that's about with stops and everything like 6 hours.
Yeah,
man, we were able to do a turn and burn because we had we stacked 4 people in the car, but like Deals just came up to hang out and sell merch, and Kevin Martin came up to hang out and sell merch. But Deals is so funny and just tells such good stories. But that 6-hour drive felt like it took no time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like we got done with the show and we had a hotel. Like they're like, you got a room if you need it, and we're like, we can turn and burn. and we did. And it was great. We were all home Sunday morning. Got up a little late, I'm sure, but we're all home by 4 a.m. Sunday morning, and we're fine. We're laughing. There was one point where everybody in the car was like gasp laughing. You know what I mean? Like your face hurts. You're all trying to get your wind, and you're all just laughing so hard.
Yep. Your cheeks are burning and your sides splitting. Yeah. Please stop talking so I can breathe for a second. Don't say anything else, y'all. Let's get some break.
I'm like, I'm trying to drive. Just.
I do remember you being a great wheelman, though, Plunkie. You always got you there safe, so that's important, right? That's another important part of you.
I love being in control on the road. You know what I mean?
That makes sense. Yeah.
Like I took an hour and a half off this last drive, and the whole time, like I couldn't go to sleep.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm like, oh, it's 2 a.m. Can someone else take over? Sure. And I'm in the back just wide awake now. And I'm like,
right. Might as well take a drink of coffee and Red Bull. And yeah, that's funny. But yeah, good for you and good for him. And I always enjoy seeing y'all as a tag team together and you and Alex and him. And it's a shame y'all aren't doing it on the bigger stage, because I do think that is an incredible tag team. But maybe sometime people will get their head on straight and figure out that.
That's right, it's the talk of Middle Tennessee, the channel you love to hate and the channel you hate to love. It's Brian Turner from Brian Turner's VHS Rehab. And if you're looking for matches from Wolfie D to Jerry Lawler to Dusty Rhodes and the team that put a pimp before your eyes and a goatee between your thighs, Booty Call and Athena, go to lostwrestling.com. See, I made it easy for you. Brian Turner's VHS Rehab. Booyah.
This is Kroll, and you're listening to Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling with Jimmy Street and Jarrett the Plastic Sheik. Be sure to like, subscribe, and view all of our USWO and Saw Wrestling content at Nashville Wrestling Network, exclusively on YouTube.
All right, Plunkie. So I feel like my questions are kind of running together with some of the stuff, but you were talking about earlier light tubes picking out for your back for 3 days and everything like that, and it just got me thinking, like, what's something crazy you've seen somebody do, like willingly, like want to do it for like almost no pay, like or peanuts pay, basically.
He told us in his first match. I'm just kidding. But.
Well, and then I know he talked about the Lone Star on the backdrop in front of 12 people and everything like that. But
right,
yeah. Gosh, I'm trying to think. Man,
you're just like, I would not do that. Like,
yeah. No, there's a lot of. So this wasn't intentional, but old John Wayne Murdoch was doing. I don't know what he was making, but I do know the venue it was at, and it couldn't draw that many people, so it couldn't have been. It definitely wouldn't have paid out those worth this. But right. He was doing a light tube match, I believe, with Josh Crow, and he took a drop kick into the light tubes, and somehow one of the tubes like filleted his shoulder. I'm talking about 4 inches right across the trap, and it was probably a couple inches deep, and he had to be rushed to the hospital. And I mean, it missed his carotid artery by inches.
Oh my God.
And I'm just like, I just remember looking at that, and I like Murdoch a lot, and it's not worth it to me.
Yeah, that is definitely not worth it. But man, he has turned that into a whole thing. He's definitely got his style. And for a lot of people who don't know this, Damien or however you want to call him, and he's very talented. And
yeah, I was actually talking to him a couple months ago. Like, he got to do Europe, he got to do Japan. Yeah. He's going back to Japan maybe. Yeah. So, I mean, no, he's done some really cool stuff.
That's like Cousin Condry. Cousin Condry got to go work Japan, and I was trying to get across to him. I'm like, dude, you know this. I know you do. But there are legends in the business who have not been able to do that. And, just keep that perspective in your mind. And, I think that's impressive. Anybody that gets to go anywhere overseas, I think that's impressive, Yeah. So. Yeah. So the one thing that I like about you, and I know that we've talked about this a lot, but your troubadour tattoo across your chest. I love that. I remember when you were first getting that and the reason why. Go ahead and tell the folks the reason why you got that tattoo.
Well, we were drunk in a bar after a show. As most great decisions come from.
Yeah.
But we were drunk in a bar after a show and just talking wrestling. And I remember it was me, Shane Morton, James Storm, a lot of the guys from the show, but I know we definitely, I don't think we had intentions of going out that night. And James we're going out to drink, right? So we went out. But the last song,
is one guy to say it, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah. Twist our arm.
Yeah.
But so he selected the last song of the night to play as we're closing down. And it was Troubadour. And, I've always liked George Strait, but, he was the first person to kind of point out. He's like, it's the story of a wrestler. You're a young troubadour. When you wrote it on a song, you'll be an old troubadour when you're gone. And it really spoke to me. And I think I scheduled, a week later to have the tattoo.
Yeah, man, I can think of so many George Strait songs and so many great country songs that always gave me the wrestling vibe. But one of others of his is Cheyenne, man.
Yep.
That one, it breaks my heart for just the reason of the song, But when you think about it from a wrestler's perspective, it's like, all right, babe, well, if you're not there, I'm going to go make this other town, And, man,
Well, same with Amarillo by Morning.
Exactly.
Because Amarillo, I always think the Funks. But, it's coming home, trying to come home after something.
Be normal, and that's one thing that I've loved about Roddy Piper biographies is how I've learned that when he would get off the road, he would go to a hotel for a night or two to kind of come back down, and for whatever reason, he had to come off the road and he had to do it in stages where like, okay, I'm going to get a hotel room tonight in my hometown and then go home because I need to kind of, expunge the business and I want to be the dad and I want to be husband, but I need to expunge the road from me. So he would take a night or two in a hotel room, which that says a lot about wrestling. And I know it makes sense to you, right, Plunkie? I mean, coming home sometimes from this, your adrenaline's on 11 and, you're trying to get back into real life and be a husband. It's like, man,
well, especially if you do like a big event, sometimes it's hard to come back and, you just rocked it and you're feeling high and then you come back and the wife's like, hey, go take this out.
Yeah, I need that dropped off, or I need this picked up, or I need you to go do this, or dig a ditch, or dig a garden, or whatever.
Oh, good. Yeah, that's been a lot. Dude, 10 a.m. after that West Virginia trip, I was out helping the wife in her garden. So, I mean, I've gotten used to it, but it was really hard at first to be like, realize I just did a 12-hour round trip and wrestled in front of 500 people?
Yeah.
No, you don't care? All right, well, I guess I'll get the shovel.
I was important to them too, baby.
Yeah, they liked me.
Oh man, that's great.
Oh, did I tell you I finally got to see George Strait in concert?
No, dude, that's amazing. Oh my God!
When he came to Nashville and did those two days, it was, what was the lineup? Was it Lady A? No, it was Little Big Town. Little Big Town, Chris Stapleton, George Strait.
Holy cow.
So the second night got rained out. We were there on the first night. The first night it was like 105 with a heat index of like 115.
Jeez.
So we get through Little Big Town, and I'm going to get. It was so hot that Nissan Stadium was giving out like free water.
Wow.
Yeah, they don't give anything out free.
Yeah, let's save some lives here, please.
Yeah. So I'm in line for the water, and I just feel myself getting lightheaded.
Man.
And I've been drinking water, but like we were sweating so bad that, the electrolytes are going out again.
Right.
We're just drinking water. So I remember I get my water and I see the wall and I start walking toward the wall and I just fall out.
Man. Wow.
And we're there with Chris Norte and his wife Ashley. And I remember, so we just seen Little Big Town. Chris Stapleton's about to go up on stage and she goes, "Are you okay, Bo? Like, we can go ahead and go, it's whatever."
Right.
And I remember looking up and go, "I have Troubadour tattooed on my damn chest. You think I'm going to miss George Strait? Somebody go get me a Gatorade."
Yeah, I mean, come on, help me out here. It's funny. I just went to see U2 in the Sphere. My wife's a big fan of U2, and we went to Vegas to see them at this Sphere, this crazy, venue that has a huge screen. It's like a circular. It's amazing. I have some videos online if anybody wants to see it. But anyway, we go there, and she's like, "You want to get a drink?" And I'm like, "I want to get a water. I'm dying." Because you've been out west, right? Have you been out there where it's so dry and it's just like, man, that's a different level. You're like, I thought I was pretty well hydrated, but I am not. Man, yeah.
We were so just from sweat.
Yeah,
it was so crazy because, like, not only the heat index was 115, but we're at the top.
Yeah.
And opposite where the sun's setting. So like we were under the sun the most and it was rough.
Man, yeah. And, you probably saw guys there in full cowboy jeans and hats and everything. And I'm sure there were plenty of people that were like, how are you alive right now?
Yeah. 100%. I was in shorts and those button-up fishing sun shirts.
Yes, made to cool you.
I was in that and still was dying.
Man, yeah, no doubt. Did you have it unbuttoned enough for the troubadour tattoo, though?
Brother, as the hotter to get, another button. By the end of it, I had it unbuttoned to my belly button. I looked like that, brother.
Nice.
But once the sun came down and George hit the stage, I didn't care.
Right. Yeah, man, that's amazing. Oh, man. Yeah, that's a great story. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, man, that's a good one.
Yeah.
So that's me almost dying.
Yeah, almost dying. That was that was not a good part. Yeah.
Yeah, just leave that part out.
Yeah. Go ahead.
All right. So, Plunkie, do you have any pre-match rituals or anything you have to do to get ready for a match, psych yourself up, whatever?
There was a time when I was really, really, and I still try to, but I was really, really big on long stretching routines. But some locker rooms, you don't have that much space. So a lot of that depends on the locker room. I am always for some reason, a right boot on first guy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And always right before my match, no matter how much I've warmed up or not, I last minute will try to get squats in. I don't know. Yeah, it doesn't add anything.
Right.
But I'm like, oh God, my opponent's music's playing. Let me do 20 squats real quick and see if, because that'll save everything.
Yeah.
But not really anymore. I kind of do everything the same way each time, but I think that's just more habit than a pre-match ritual. And I've had stuff as I've gone, but it just kind of changes. I used to, even though I'm not religious, I used to cross myself before I went out, just goes this couldn't hurt.
Right. Sure. A little extra something there. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think I have any rituals that I can think of. A lot of times I'll put Vicks on my nose. That's about it. I mean,
open you up, man.
Yeah.
And anything to help me breathe a little better, I will definitely do.
Oh, no doubt, man. Except
gum.
for
there you go, gum. I have to have gum. I'm one of those guys. I know some people say that's bad,
right?
But I have to have gum, or I'm going to be so dry mouthed out there.
Yeah. What's your current entrance song that you're coming out to?
I went back to Midnight Rider for a little bit, but I'm back to using Grizzled White Boy, the custom song that got made.
Nice. Very cool. Yeah, very cool. Well, okay, so we've got a few quick questions here. These are just kind of get to know you. Even though I know you well, there's always things we can do to get to know each other easier. So these are just quick questions. It's kind of similar to a name game, but not really. This is just its own little thing. So are you cool to ask a few of these questions with us here?
Absolutely.
All right, DJ, hit the music. All right, man. So your favorite music genre overall, what would you say if you're just turning on something? What's it going to be?
When I was younger, it would have been rock, but I think I've morphed into a country guy.
Nothing.
Not new country though.
No.
There's a few like Stapleton, but other than that, if it's past 90s, I probably don't listen to it.
Yeah, I love how 90s country has made such a huge comeback, especially on all these shorts and reels on all these social media platforms. It's funny how they're just like, man, I love me some 90s music, and it's like an 18-year-old kid,
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. What's your guilty pleasure song? What's a guilty pleasure song that if it comes on, it doesn't matter. You're turning it up.
Oh man, so I don't know if I can say one song per se, but there's a band and they're called Punk Rock Factory.
Okay.
And they do a lot of covers. So my wife, as anyone who follows me on social media knows, is a giant Disney fan. And yeah, anytime they come on, they do like punk rock covers of Disney music.
Nice. Okay.
And I'll listen to that anytime it comes on my Spotify.
Probably the surface pressure cover. I don't know if you've seen was that Encanto?
No, I have.
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
Okay, of course
so
you have there.
They cover the song Surface Pressure, and it really rules.
Okay.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Neat.
Yeah, the very Disney. Jared's a Disney family too, so they're.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, man. Now look up if you like it's like pop punk. It's not like a heavy punk, but if you like pop punk stuff, they do really good covers. They do a lot of different TV stuff too, but they do a lot of Disney.
That's awesome.
Right, cool.
Very cool. Yeah, this leads in, I think. Go ahead, Jared.
Yeah, I was going to say this leads in. We're so what's your like favorite vacation and why would it be your favorite vacation you ever had?
Well, so until I got with my wife, I never took one.
Okay.
I don't want to say I never. The only vacation I had ever taken prior to my wife was like one spring break in college. I went to North Carolina and visited a friend. Other than that, any of my PTO has been used around wrestling or just being so fried out I need a day.
Yeah.
So the wife got me to go into vacations. At first it was cruising.
Nice.
Which,
love cruises.
We've been hit or miss on them. We've had some really good ones. Yeah. And we've had some, like we cruised out of New Orleans one time and it was just a whole bunch of drunk partiers and it was not my thing.
Right. Yeah.
But anytime we've cruised out of Port Canaveral has been good. But then it became Disney. And I will say our first couple Disney trips, when you first go and you're not sure you're going to go back, so you try to do everything.
Yes.
And that eventually at the end of the night leads to everyone's tired and kind of arguing.
Yeah, definitely.
I think that was our first couple, because I remember our first Disney trip, we literally came off a cruise ship, went straight to Disney, and we're at Disney. They had the after hours party, so we're at Disney till midnight. So 7 a.m. off a cruise ship, straight to Disney till midnight. Man. And I remember us arguing as we're leaving Disney. But now that we've been as much as we have, we really enjoy Disney. However, I will say land over world.
Okay.
We went out to California and did Disneyland. It was great.
That's
and
we were going to make it out there sometime.
We were at a hotel, like not on site, but literally right across the street from the gate.
Wow.
And so we'd just walk, we'd walk over there every day, and we could kind of, because we were so close, and because Disney's parks are so small, if we got tired, we'd go back to the hotel, and we did just about every day. We went back to the hotel for a few hours and went back and stuff. But no, Disneyland, I absolutely love World last time we went to, because we were past that whole we have to do everything. Hey, let's just do the stuff we want to do, and it was way more chill. Yeah. But land was amazing, but it's just so hard to go there all the time when we can drive down to Florida if we need to.
Right. Plus, the oppressive humidity in Florida versus Southern California weather is probably a little different too, I'm sure. So
it was so funny because people were wearing hoodies because it was like 68, 70, and I'm like, y'all are crazy.
I've got wrestling trunks on and flip flops. What are y'all doing?
There was definitely shorts, Crocs, and a big old fanny pack.
Yeah. Man, that's great.
So, just kind of boosting off that question, we're going on the newest Disney cruise boat this summer. Yeah, we haven't been. That's the only one we hadn't been on. We've been, we've been on to Alaska. We've been in a lot of spots. But do you have a bucket list item, like travel place you'd like to go or do? Or
so the wife definitely wants to do some Disney cruising, 100%.
Yeah.
However, we've been looking into one that she wants to do for my 40th birthday, and I'm actually down with it. So it's called Adventures by Disney. So they do things everywhere, like they have some in different countries and stuff like that, and they have one in Arizona. But the one in California, so I believe it's 6 days, and the thing I really like about it is the majority of it's like a guided tour. The majority of the stuff is scheduled for you. So you stay 3 days, I think, in the Lowe's hotel, which is like a big fancy hotel in LA. You go to the Grauman's Theater. They take you to Ghirardelli. They take you some stuff in LA, and then you move over to the Grand Californian, I believe, and then they'll take you, like you get to go to Jim Henson Studios and do backstage tours.
Nice.
Which is on the Charlie Chaplin lot. So that lot's been around since, the beginnings of Hollywood. You get to go to the Walt Disney Studios. You get to go by the, what is it? Oh, what's it called? Gosh, Carousel. The carousel that like Disney went to and dreamed up Disneyland.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And stuff like that. And then you get to go backstage on some of the stuff in the parks. Like you get to go like backstage on rides. And then, there's times for like half the day they'll set you loose in the park and you get like fast passes and stuff like that. But you get to go in Walt Disney's apartment that's in Disneyland that he would stay at while he was there. So they just cool stuff like that, but it's all guided.
Yeah.
And so like that's what stresses me out on vacation. It's like, what are we doing next? Okay, what do we need to do? What do we need to do? Whereas this one I can just follow their lead.
Right.
Like the idea of going and not having to think.
Yeah.
This seems amazing. And like a whole bunch of meals are covered and stuff. And it's pricey, but it's like in the grand scheme of things, it's not incredibly pricey.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's definitely it's pricey enough to be a once in a lifetime thing, but that's something that we're really looking forward to do. And, we've got 3 years to get it planned, but
that's awesome.
One of the things I want to do one of these days at Disney somehow is like the VIP tour where they take you around.
with the plaid vest people.
Yeah.
So this is kind of sort of that.
Okay, it's what it sounds like, kind of. But
yeah, and you actually you get to go into the park and like before they open Disney, and like as soon as they open the gates, you're at the front of the line and stuff like that.
Gotta love that, man.
Yeah.
So it'd be cool. I don't know if they could ever do something like that in the world because there's so many people there.
Yeah.
It's so huge, but doing it in land would be super neat.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So the next couple are super simple, and these are just really easy. Coffee or tea?
So it kind of depends. I like good black coffee, but I like good. So I can't do I can't do sugar, or I balloon up. So if you can find a good sweet tea,
yeah,
like that's artificial sugar or whatever, sure. I'll drink that. Like Aldi's has a brand called Benner that we've been just drinking the crap out of their peach tea.
Okay.
But if I had to pick one, if we're talking like in the morning to wake up, it's definitely coffee.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Me too. Yeah. That's what starts it up for me. So I know this next one, but we're going to ask it anyway. Cats or dogs?
I like both, but inadvertently became a cat person.
Yeah.
I was dating a girl. She convinced me to get some cats, and she didn't left the cats. And I was working on getting rid of them, and I had my shoulder surgery. And I don't know, they just grew on me while I was sitting at home, not being able to do anything. It just grew on me, and now we've got, between mine and my wife's, and then after my dad passed, his that we took in, we've got 9.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you feel like you were a dog person, but then you inadvertently became a cat person? But to throw a dog in that mix would be way too much, right? I mean,
we want to get a dog eventually.
Nice. Okay.
But
That's
it'll
cool.
be a deal. I don't believe a dog should be inside all the time. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not one of the people who would like to leave the dog outside.
Of course,
that's not my thing. But I want to get a fenced-in area so that when the weather is nice, I'm not leading him around on a leash all the time. I can put him in a fenced area and go play, run, get some of this energy out.
Yeah. That makes sense. You could definitely work a dog in that way. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's like your prized possession?
There's something that I carry around with me that I don't think Jimmy even knows this, but he actually gave it to me.
Oh, wow.
You had sent some DVDs back, you had put a little signed Arn Anderson trading card in there.
Yeah, buddy.
That stays in either my fanny pack or my wrestling bag at all times.
Oh, dude, that's awesome, man. Wow.
We were up at like 3 a.m. last time I was in Cleveland, and I was talking to Aaron Stevens. And we were just talking wrestling. He goes, "Hey, I'm just curious, who's your favorite wrestler?" And I just reached into my fanny pack and pulled that out. He goes, "You carry that around with you?" I go, "Yeah." I go, "I don't know why. I just do." And he started laughing. He goes, "I love Arn." And we talked about Arn for about another hour. Man. But man, I carry that around with me all the time.
Dude, that's awesome. I'm so glad that did that for you, because
that meant the world to me. I thank you for the past, and thank you again.
Yeah, no, that.
And then Jared's like, "Wait, that was mine. I've been looking for you."
Yeah, that was mine, Jimmy.
Jared's like, "You had that?"
I was like, I have one somewhere. That better not be that. I'm just kidding.
No, it's not yours. Is it?
I'm just kidding. No, it's not. No, it better not be. No, just kidding.
That was horrible. You just found out it's missing, and now it's with Plunkett. So.
Like I'm running downstairs to go look for it.
No, dude, that means the world, man. I'm so glad that meant a lot to you, because that's exactly what I meant it to be. So that's awesome. Okay, well, this is a good one to kind of follow that up. What's the first thing you would buy? Not pay off any kind of home or debt or anything. What's the first thing you would buy for yourself if you won the lottery?
Gosh, I don't play it, so I don't know, which is crazy, because like I've never been a gambling guy, which is like all my buddies are, know, especially sports betting and everything.
Yeah, everybody,
and some of my buddies are good at it. When we went to West Virginia, regular gambling over the phone is legal there.
Right.
So like the minute we crossed into West Virginia, Magic Jake started playing. I don't know what he was playing, but he's playing, like, he's gambling on his phone. And he comes out at the end of the night. I go, "So how'd you end up?" And he goes, "Up $320. Food on the way home's on me."
Nice.
I'm like, "Damn, dude, you did better than the entire carload I'm getting paid tonight." You know what I mean? You didn't even have to take a bump for that. But I don't know. I really don't. I've always wanted to have a small ring in the barn, but like the older I get, the more I'm like, I'm not going to be out there bumping in my free time.
Exactly. Yeah. But so, maybe it could turn into a school, man.
I've thought about that, but because that's right on my property, I don't know if I don't want that many people.
Right. Exactly.
Actually, if I won the lottery, I could afford to do a lease on a building and do a school. I would love to open up a proper school.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Like, it doesn't have to be anything big, crazy like a performance center, but just like a place with a ring and some equipment, to work out equipment and stuff like that.
Air conditioning.
Yeah. Well, I didn't have it.
Right. They don't deserve it. We're turning it off.
But no, I would like a warehouse gym to be able to train some people, and I put my stuff in there too, so I could have to go somewhere to work out, because I work harder when I do that.
Yeah, that's good.
What's like TV shows, movies? Like, what's your favorite all time and now too?
Man, here's something, and it's probably my favorite all time. It's definitely the one I can go back and watch episodes of the most.
Yes,
is Community.
Oh yeah,
that show
underrated.
Me. I love that show. Like even the season. What season was it? Is it season 4 where Dan Harmon was gone for a little bit, or was gone for that entire season?
Right.
That one was even good. Like, it wasn't as good, but it was even good. So I love Community, and that'll probably be my all time. As far as ones I'm liking currently, I'm desperately waiting for the rest of The Boys to drop.
Oh yeah, great show.
I just finished, actually today, before we got on this. I finished, I believe it's the end of this first season of Gen V, which is like the spinoff of it.
Yeah, I haven't finished that either, but I need to. Yeah.
Is it 6 episodes? If it's 6 episodes, then I finished it today, and it's pretty wild.
Yeah.
But The Boy, like, as good as Gen V is, The Boys, like, there is multiple times I remember texting people after the new episode and going, "Holy crap, what did I just watch?"
Yeah, I know. There's definitely some holy crap moments in that show, for sure. Yeah.
God, the shrinking guy who expanded. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
That's the main one that I remember going, Jesus.
Exactly. Exactly. Every time you think they've topped it, they're never. Yeah. It's we'll just wait. Hold on.
It's wild. The Boys is one of my current favorites right now.
Yeah. What about movies?
I'm trying to think. All time. Love The Princess Bride.
Great.
Oh man.
Yeah.
giant Robin Hood Men in Tights guy.
Oh yeah, love it. Mel Brooks.
That movie's so funny. It's ridiculous, and has an freshly 18-year-old Dave Chappelle in it.
Right,
Yes,
exactly.
yeah.
I know. I love that. Yeah.
Trying to think. I know. God, there's got to be some serious movies in there. And I'm sure there are, but I don't.
The Princess Bride's not serious?
Oh, some of it. It's a love story.
True love.
Anybody want a peanut?
What is it? Who is it? Ron. Opie, help me out.
Ron Howard.
Yeah, his brother in it.
Yeah, Chip. Yeah. God.
The whole. He goes on the whole speech right before he dies. That's one of my favorite parts.
Yeah, it's
He's
incredible.
like, I've outsmarted you. I tricked you, and I switched it. Blah 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 blah, and then just falls over.
Yeah.
That's Wallace Shawn.
Okay.
Oh, I thought that was Ron Howard's brother.
No, that's Wallace Shawn.
Oh, okay.
That's the guy that does Rex's voice in Toy Story.
Oh, you know what? You're right.
Yeah.
Ron Howard's brother looks kind of like that.
And
dude,
they look like each other.
But he's got like his eyes are kind of crazy.
Right.
Yeah. You're right.
I could definitely see how you would make that mistake.
Yeah, absolutely, I can see.
Yeah.
Yeah. All balding guys look the same. That's what I'm saying.
Easy.
Yeah. Oh, brother, I'm right there with you.
Yeah,
Just shave it.
We're all there, man. It's all good.
God, there's got to be some serious movies, and I can't. It's funny that I can't think of those. It's all comedies.
Well,
that I can
comedy's
think of
great.
offhand. I mean, I love The Wrestler. A lot of guys didn't. I love The Wrestler. I loved Ready to Rumble.
Yeah. Exactly.
Again, a lot of wrestlers hated that. I thought it
Dude,
was
okay,
hilarious.
so I would love to know what Jerry Lawler thought about that movie because I mean, I asked Wolfie this. Somebody asked this on a Ask Wolfie recently what he thought about it, and wonder if Jerry Lawler took offense to that. Being that basically that was him that they were portraying in that movie. So,
I mean, I could see where they could say it was him because he was an old wrestler. He's still doing it.
Mm-hmm.
But Randy the Ram didn't save his money. Jerry
no, I'm talking about Ready to Rumble. I'm sorry. The wrestler is basically Wolfie, but no, we'll go on from yeah, but I'm sorry. In Ready to Rumble, that was my mistake. I should have. Yeah, he was basically a Jerry the King style guy in that. So yeah,
I could see that.
Oliver Platt or whatever his name is. Yeah. Yeah. Not that I think Lawler is anything like that guy. I just mean that's kind of it made him a Southern guy that had, a king.
It was maybe Lawler mixed with Flair, honestly.
Yeah. I could. Well, they were definitely. Yeah, that's a good point. It could be Flair too. So. Yeah. Okay. So, what is one misconception about you that you think people have?
So I think it's lightened up in the past few years as I've lightened up, but. I don't know, man. I was a lot of people remember me for and people have said this to me as they've seen me again after a while. I was kind of a hard ass. I was a dick back in the day.
Okay.
I've roughed up some people in my time and stuff like that. But usually I always had a reason, or the promoter had asked me to do it, and I think that's so stupid. Now I guess we'd call them what they are. Had hits called out on people, and I'm like, I'm not doing that anymore. That's 37 years old. Right. Yeah. If the guy's terrible or a piece of crap or something, why are you booking him?
Yeah. Exactly.
Instead of asking somebody to beat him up, why don't you just leave him off the card?
Yeah. Amen. Yeah, that would have been much simpler.
But I used to, I don't know, man. Like before I got my anger in check, I used to be a dick. I really did, and I can say that. But I've chilled out a lot in my older age, and then just getting life together for me. Like I think that whole thing about if you're not happy with yourself, you're not happy with a lot of things in life.
It's so true, man. It's so
that's
true.
real.
Yeah, it is. You can't hide it either. Once you try, but you really can't hide it. It's obvious, even though it may not be obvious immediately. It ends up being obvious. So.
Well, and then there's just kind of like the thought too, and I think training people helped me with this, was that you expect everybody to have the same journey or the similar journey, or to have this just simply the same passion that you had. And I found with a lot of the people I trained, they're the newer generation. God, I can't believe I'm saying that. Now I'm the old guy. But like some of them aren't as hungry as like, I was wrestling 4 to 5 days a week early on. And, I've got guys that came out of our training school that are wrestling like once every couple months. And they're like, oh yeah, I've been in business 3 years. And it's like, I've had 18 matches. Like, and that really bothered me training too. And it was hard for me to get past that. But I was able to see that I don't think anyone will ever have the journey I had. And there's good to that and there's bad to that. There's good to that to make any kind of money, it took me way too long.
Right.
But there's just bad to that where it's like, I don't think they have to fight as hard sometimes.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
But they can be their own publicist now. They don't have to send out a DVD or anything. They just have to send out a link or make a highlight video.
Yeah. Yeah. God, that's so true, man. That's so true.
There's pluses and minuses to it. Like I said, you can make money quicker potentially.
Yeah, and there are other avenues now that have been opened that weren't there when you were coming up,
Oh, for sure. I wish I would have jumped on uploading matches and stuff like that earlier.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and the OnlyFans thing with the female wrestlers is cracking me up, man, because it's like that's a whole thing that basically you have to have now to make that extra dollar. And I'm not knocking them. I respect it, but that's a whole other thing that a lot of people don't really talk about. But it just seems like, with the Hex, I just interviewed the Hex, and I noticed like that was one of their major things they put over. Not only they're on Twitter and all that, our OnlyFans, and yeah, whatever they do on there, that's their right and their call. But it's funny how that is just an alternate form of money for them now. So. Yeah,
and I mean a lot of them do. I mean, there's some fellows that do too. And
I'm sure. Man. Yeah, make your money. Sell them feet pictures, So.
I'm trying to find the guy who buys old tights. So I need, if anybody wants to get some old singlets that are just sitting in my closet not doing anything, hit me up.
Yeah, hit him up. I'm sure there's somebody. Come on, y'all.
So do you have any like pet peeves in wrestling? Like whether it's you involved in a match or whether you just are watching the match and see it and you're like, man, I hate that. It's like,
I've got too many. I hate a bad punch.
Oh man!
Like coming
from Tennessee though, y'all.
Bro, yeah. Like, people. It's funny. People for a long time would trash Tennessee wrestling. I'd be like, yeah, maybe.
Right.
But most of us can throw a punch.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we might not be doing crazy high spots, but your punches are terrible.
Right. Right. And I mean, the forearm thing, man, everybody does forearms now. And it's just like, golly, throw a punch, brother. But
and I'm fine with forearms, but then you'll see the guys who are, and they're throwing them stiff because they look like crap.
Right.
Because it's always the things that don't look like they hurt that hurt.
Yeah.
But yeah, not being able to throw a good punch. There's so many guys who, and I don't want to paint with a broad brush on this, but you'll see a lot of guys who do, incredible high spots, but they have no basics.
Right.
Right. A guy can't take a hip toss, but he can do a 450, and that doesn't make any sense because you can flip twice. But you can't flip one.
Yeah.
So that bothers me. And just when guys, and this specifically when working them, just when they don't put common sense into putting their matches together,
right?
Or like, I always try to go when I'm putting a match together, what's the story? Like, what kind of story are we trying to get across?
Yeah.
And that's how we'll put the match together. And like I've said that to some people, and they're just looking at me like, what do you mean story?
Yeah.
We're physical storytellers.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, that's what we do. We're not just stuntmen. We're physical storytellers. So, like, people not caring about what the story should be, that bothers me. But, like I said, the common sense thing, I won't name names or anything or when, but, like, had a guy who was 160 pounds and we're putting a match together. And he was wanting to do, like, a back and forth, like, mirror spot. I'm like, all right, that's fine. And he's like, all right, so maybe I'll give you a tackle first. And I'm like, hold on, buddy. I'm like, I'm not the guy who goes, let me protect my size, but come on. I outweigh you by like 90 pounds. Can we do something but a tackle? I'll take a bump for you. I'm not saying that. Just not a tackle.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And one of my pet peeves is the telegraphing of moves. And that kills me, especially like they won't duck the clothesline properly. So the guy has to swing his arm up. And,
oh, God. I hate the rainbow.
Yeah. Yeah. And, AEW and WWE both do it, but I think the big difference in AEW and WWE is the cameramen and the camera work. I feel like WWE's guys will cut away. Like, let's just say guys going to the top rope, but the spot before that is something where he needs to get, he needs to fall down. Well, if he doesn't fall in the right spot, he'll scoot over. And AEW's camera will like stay on the guy just moving. Yeah. And WWE will cut away to something else, and then they'll come back when the guy's in position. And I think that's something that is a huge thing with me is, the camera work in WWE helps out that a lot, where I think AEW could learn from that. Any company that just doesn't understand camera work could learn from what I think. And that's, I think, probably, you've got how many years now of WWE being the top dog? I mean, they know what they're doing, and I think that's shown in that. But the telegraphing of moves is something that is the biggest pet peeve of me. And it's like my wife and I are sitting here when I actually make her watch some wrestling every once in a while, and she's like, "Why does that happen?" I'm like, "Yeah, did you just notice that he did that?" And I'll rewind it and show him. She's like, "Oh my gosh, why did he show that?" Mm-hmm. And I'm like, "Yeah, if you can't see it at first, but then you do see it, that's scary, So
yeah, and a camera can be your best friend. It can cover up, or it can be your worst enemy and show everything.
Exactly. Yeah,
that's funny. You're talking about like the work of somebody to like make it look like something. We were watching the Dark Side of the Ring John Tenta episode.
Oh man, I cried.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
And the part where Jake gets wrapped up in the ropes, I rewound it and showed my wife. I was like, look how Jake already prepares for getting hooked into the ropes. But you don't really see it if you're watching it live. You're paying attention to everything else. But Jake's basically already hooked in there, ready to go for that to happen. I was like, that's good work by him without being too obvious or anything like that. So it's physical storytelling. It's sleight of hand. Yeah.
You know what I mean? How many of the old school guys you would barely see their hand go to their head, and all of a sudden they've got the crimson mask. You know what I mean? Some people are just artists with a blade.
Yeah, definitely.
So, kind of the last question I like to ask is, if you had to look at your career so far, what would your favorite match you've ever had be?
So probably just because I did something that I didn't think I'd be able to do. I'm going to say I won an hour, even though I went 57 minutes. But a guy named Chris Kane and I we actually did 2 matches that went about that long, a series of near Broadways, just to kind of prove that we could. And I was given 2 weeks notice, so I really trained the cardio up and stuff like that. But that was the proudest I've ever been as far as like a physical achievement I've done. But B, we were able to keep them entertained during that time, and to the point of, I think he won the first one and I won the second one. And we did this is when I was really into my All Japan watching, and they would base their last match, their next match off the last match. So there'd be counters of stuff they hit, and et cetera, et cetera. And the fact that the people paid attention enough to know I lost to a Mahastral Cradle. No, I'm sorry, it was Oklahoma Roll. Same thing, minus an arm hook. I lost to Oklahoma Roll in the first one, and then for the finish of the last one, he went for the Oklahoma Roll, and I can't remember if I stopped him halfway before he could get me on my back and just cradled him 1, 2, 3 and got it. And the people knew, they're like, "Oh, he got you with that last time, but you countered it." And I'm like, "Oh my God, you paid attention." And this was in front of 50 people, so it's like nowhere near the biggest thing I've ever done. But that means a lot to me, just because I don't know if I could do an hour now. I probably could. I just need some training to it. But and I was pretty young doing an hour too. This is like 2010, 2011.
Yeah.
And I've done 3 near hours. Those 2 singles and 1 was a 6-man. And wow. So those are definitely up there. But as far as as far as the one that means the most, it'll probably still go Kojima, just because who is with.
Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt. And I kind of assumed that was going to be.
Too, but
yeah. And by the way, there's a whole show that we did about that match with Kroll, Plunkie, and I. Go back in the archives and check that out. That's one of our top rated shows. It's in the top 10, probably going to be there for a long time. So, yeah.
And it had a lot of you'll hear all the crazy backstage stuff. A lot of it I didn't even know.
Yeah. And it was cool to hear how, in my opinion, it was cool to hear how much they went to bat for you. And
yes.
That's got to make you feel good, man, because, when somebody believes in you, that, and in this business, when somebody believes in you, that 99% of the time, that means everything, man,
Yeah, no, it meant an awful lot. It meant an awful lot. And it let me prove that if given the right opportunity, I could be box office.
Yeah.
And we proved it.
Yeah. Yeah.
There was no change in the envelope, but proved it.
Right. And there should have been, but we'll go into a different story now. But when it comes down to it, what's funny is Kojima just recently wrestled Punk on AEW TV. So,
I believe, I know for a fact he's wrestling with MLW, and he may be the MLW champion right now.
That's awesome. That's all. So now's your chance, bro.
There you go. Yeah. Court Bauer. I need I need another match with him. Let's do it.
Yeah, and I'm going to manage you there because he loves Gary Hart, and I'll just do my Abdullah Muta impersonation, and I'll get the gig. No, I'm just kidding. You get the gig, and then you do it.
No, screw that. That's less I have to talk. Let's go.
All right. I'm ready, bro. I promise, whenever you want. I'm now the Hustler Jimmy Street, by the way. Rip Rogers approved that one, so we'll...
oh, nice. Heck yeah. You got Rip's approval.
Yeah, when we had him on the show, I was like, man, hey, Rip, can I do this?
How many bleeps did you have to do with that one?
Oh, we didn't because it was on the Wolfie show. So,
oh, okay.
Yeah, that's a bleep free show. So yeah, that's an easier one to do when you have somebody that, says curse words so eloquently and so professionally,
Yeah. Well, oh God, I wish I could remember the Cornette quote. It's like Rip. Oh yeah, it's Rip works in curse words like many people do in watercolors.
Yes. Yeah, I love that. Well, so, we do, as we're wrapping up the show, man, let me just put you over real quick because, bro, you look incredible right now. And I've always known you as a bigger dude, as a bigger worker, and that fit your style and it's all. But, bro, you have done... Man, you look great, and I just got to put that over real quick. Tell the people what you've done to kind of keep yourself in shape and get yourself there.
Man, the majority of it's been diet, and I appreciate that. It's been a battle. I topped out at like 320 pounds at one point. I'm about 248 right now. As far as exercise, man, I do a lot of so it's either between DDP yoga. Or if you've seen him on social media, it's a guy. He goes by the knees over toes guy. His name's Ben Patrick, but his whole thing.
Yeah. Okay.
It's all about healing your joints.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, been doing this, since 2005. So next year will be 20 years. My body's kind of beat up, so all my workouts are around just getting my joints as tip top as they can be with all the damage they've sustained.
Gotcha.
So it's either yoga or some Ben Patrick work. And then diet wise, I've done so many different things, man, but all that's ever worked for me has been lower carbohydrates. I'm one of those guys who, if I eat bread, I blow up. And here recently, actually this month, because I put a little bit back on, we have done a month of 21 days, as this is being recorded, of the carnivore diet.
Oh yeah.
So it's basically just eating meat and animal, meat and some dairy. And we're not going super strict on it. The strictest people will do, just beef, water, and salt. I'm not there yet. But, we're doing meat, tea, coffee, seafood, eggs, some dairy. Dairy kind of bloats me too. But I'm feeling really good. Like my inflammation's down. And that's what the diet is anyway, is a low inflammation diet. But it's really helped. I've, shredded, I think 9 pounds No, so I'm sorry. Let me do math in my head. 11 pounds since starting it, which I know some of that's water weight. It is what it is. But I kind of see this going on a little bit longer because I do feel really, really good with not having the inflammation, not having achy knees, achy shoulder, achy back.
Yeah, dude, you're whatever you've done, it works, man, and you keep doing it, brother. And this is Ozempic free, right, Monjaro? You're not into.
Oh yeah, no. I'm scared of that Ozempic stuff, man. I've read too many side effects of it. I'm like, nah, we're good.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's a popular thing in Hollywood and everywhere. I know it.
And you have to do it forever, right? Like once you start it,
Jared knows better than me.
I mean, theoretically, theoretically, you would have to. I mean. Or you would have to make the lifestyle changes that you've adapted to permanent, kind of. You've cut down to eating 1,500 calories a day to maintain probably what you are. You're going to have to stay at 1,500. Whatever it is,
right?
Yeah. Whatever those shots would suppress you to want, then you're gonna. If you don't make that change long term, if you go off of it and then start eating 3,000 calories every day, then you're going to put back on weight. Obviously, it's.
Yeah, but isn't there some craziness about like stomach paralysis or something being a side effect?
Oh, I mean, there's some things I don't think they know enough about it yet. Honestly, is the problem I see. I mean, I recommend it basically those things for just people that are diabetic that really need to. Lose.
Yeah, because that's what it started out as, right? It's a diabetes drug, and then they're like, hey, you can also lose weight with this.
I mean, even substance abuse problems, they say, potentially. I mean, like, if somebody's... So there's been stories of people who no longer crave alcohol at all. I don't know.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I don't know how much that's been studied, but I've heard of it as small sample size being studied.
Well, that's awesome, though, if that's the case.
I know. Yeah. But did you think, is that like say you were doing it to lose weight and you kind of got no crave for like just a beer every once in a while anymore? It's like, oh, hey, can't have one every once in a while now because I don't want it.
Right. Yeah.
Hey, I'll say this: we did our one cheat. Like the wife has done it a few more times, but she likes sweet stuff more than I do. But we went out and had Mexican Monday night, and we allowed ourselves to cheat a little bit, and we got a margarita. Dude, when you haven't had carbohydrates, that one margarita hit me like I had a pitcher with Chase. I was like, whoa.
Wow.
I was like, I'm a cheap date all of a sudden.
I remember, speaking of Chase, I remember you saying the joke, and it was so funny because Chase has partied like a rock star, or actually rock stars party like Chase, let's just say that. But when it comes down to it, he's always had a great body with him.
Yeah.
He's gone through stages where he's a little puffy, but most of the time he's always had a great physique. And I remember you making the joke that the only carbs he had were drinks.
Drinks and the tortilla chips before his Mexican food arrives.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, so tell about your upcoming events where they can see you, man, and then also where they can find you online and stuff like that, brother.
So on all social media, I don't do the TikTok or anything like that. I said the TikTok. Jesus, I'm old.
Yeah, I know. Us too, man. Yeah.
But I'm on Twitter, I'm on Instagram, and I'm on Facebook. All of them are under Plunkitis. And that'll lead you to my professional page on Facebook and everything else. As far as upcoming stuff, let's see. I'm pretty regular up at Pro Wrestling Alliance. That's at the Gladeville Community Center in Lebanon, Tennessee. I've been working there a good bit now. It's 25 minutes from the house, so nice. I will never pass that up.
Yeah.
So I got stuff with them. I've got some upcoming stuff that may or may not be announced, but who knows? Coming up for NWA Exodus Pro up in Cleveland, Ohio. Once that date been released, I'll be able to talk more about that. I've got some shows coming up in Georgia for Premier All-Star Wrestling.
Okay, very
Buchanan,
cool.
Georgia, and and then TriStar Wrestling and Hohenwald, Tennessee for our good friend Mike Jablonski. I got some stuff coming to do some stuff with them.
Nice. Very cool. Very cool.
That kind of takes me through May. I've got stuff past that too, but let's not go crazy because who knows when stuff will cancel. I've had more stuff randomly cancel
Really?
this year than anything else.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
It'll just be like, something happened with the building. Like the same show is canceled on me 2 times, and I don't blame the promoter because it's one of the boys trying to like hook up an event. It's been the building each time.
Yeah. That building
weird
thing is tricky, man. I know, because it's like there'll be people that do it, and then there'll be people that come out and steal it from under you, like Kroll dealt with, and at the Tribune. I mean, that's a mess. But hopefully we'll see you May 11th at the Right Way reunion. I don't know if Sheik's going to make it, but we're going to have a Q&A there with the Devils, the Mortons, and the Wild Boys. So hopefully you'll be able to be there. I know you'll be at the reunion for sure, man. So.
We're going to end this on a downer. That's one of the NWA Exodus dates I had to change.
Oh, okay. Well, hey, you're doing something. That's cool, though. Yeah.
I had every intention of being there and was going to be on the show and everything. But, yeah, that's one of the NWA Exodus dates.
You got to do what you got to do, man. That's really cool, though, that they're opening up more of like a territory, too, with like the Exodus and Joe Kazana and stuff.
Yeah, and then they've got an NWA Chicago that just had its first show a couple weeks back. So they're slowly spreading it out.
That's awesome.
It's just trying to find actual promotions to work with, because, I mean, there's been so I told you Danny Dills is a lot backstage, so he's seen some of these emails of some of the people like, I want to be a territory.
Yeah, right.
And then you see it, and it's in like a barn, death matches.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know if that's going to fit.
Right. Yeah. Well, good. I think it's a good thing in on paper, and I'm very excited to see where it's going, because definitely Exodus and Exodus Pro, and then Joe Kazana, those are both 2 great promotions that are doing cool things. So hopefully that continues on, and you have more opportunities to see Jeremiah Plunkett. Like I said, give me back my pro wrestling's favorite wrestler, and we'll always keep that. You are our official mascot.
I'm gonna get a shirt that says that.
Yeah, please. It's take it away, man. But no, dude, we thank you so much for coming on and spending time with us today. This is our official first part 2 of any guest we've ever had. We've had other people on repeat times for other things, but you're our first official part 2. So it's very cool to say that, man.
Always good to be first. That's what I'm following that.
Yeah, follow that.
No, actually, first match usually means, cool, can I get paid?
Can I leave?
Not even always going to leave. A lot of times I like the locker room.
Right.
I'll just get paid and hang out.
Yeah, dude. That's as long as the money's in the pocket, right?
Or in the boot.
Yeah, in the boot. There you go.
Money's in the boot, brother.
Well, that's a perfect way to end the show. Thank you, brother. Thank you, Plunkie, so much for coming by and talking to us, man. We'll talk to you soon. Okay, buddy?
All right,
thanks, buddy.
Appreciate you guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate you.
All right, we'll be right back to wrap things up with the Plastic Sheik on Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling.
Join me, Gene Jackson, for the Jackson Interaction Podcast, where I'll be doing one-on-one interviews with people from the world of professional wrestling, as well as stand-up comedy. You can get them anywhere podcasts are available in both video and audio form, but you can find them all at genejacksonpod.com.
This is your rock star ring announcer, Aaron Camaro. I'm a man who believes the 2 greatest art forms ever created are professional wrestling and heavy rock music. So when I'm not hosting the best parties that also happen to be live professional wrestling shows, I'm hosting the Decibel Geek Podcast. Decibel Geek is a weekly podcast that features discussions of all things rock. We're talking the Beatles, the Stones, Led Zeppelin, Jimi Hendrix, Black Sabbath, Kiss, Ozzy, Motley Crue, Guns N' Roses, Metallica, Alice in Chains, Pantera, and everything in between. Plus, we'll turn you on to new bands from today that have the same spirit and style that the legends do. Decibel Geek is hosted by myself, along with Rockin' Pod founder Chris Sinzak, and each week you'll get interviews with famous musicians and industry insiders, along with informative, entertaining, humorous, and insightful discussions, and most importantly, a passion for the music. So if you love to rock out as much as I do, then this is your invitation to the greatest rock and roll party in all of podcasting. It's Decibel Geek, and it's available right now on all major podcast platforms. Oh yeah.
Oh, Sheik, one more time with an awesome episode. And once again, Jeremiah Plunkett always delivers. What a great episode, man. A lot of fun.
Yeah, man, it was good. We got to talk all things, just life in general, and George Strait and wrestling, man. It's good. It's a good, good episode.
George Strait, Disney, and wrestling.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there's a joke there somewhere, but
yeah, well, it's funny, you listen to all kinds of different interviewers out there and you start to pick up on different questions and stuff and you want to tie them in. And I think there's a few that we used in this one that I want to kind of take on and keep going and, kind of build a collection of questions that would work in any scenario. I guess that's kind of the idea of trying to be a good interviewer, and I'm definitely not saying I'm a good interviewer. I'm just saying, trying to get better at it by asking questions that open doors. And I knew he loved Disney. His wife and him go to Disney as much as they can. And I knew that would click with you. So I thought that would be a good little conversation piece. And if you stopped listening there, you're not hearing this, but we did get back to wrestling. So it's all good. But yeah, a lot of fun. And thank you, Jeremiah, for coming on as always, brother.
Yeah, he was as good as advertised, man.
Oh yeah, he is definitely the official wrestler of Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling. I think that's the way we should go with that. He's definitely the representative. We need to get him a T-shirt.
Yeah. Say, hey, can you wear this to the ring always? No,
just anywhere you go, just wear the shirt. And,
Yeah.
So
and never wash it, just always wear it.
Yeah. Well, so Wolfie and I, we just had Action Mike Jackson on, and thank you. You hooked up a Sheik shorts for us with that. It was awesome. I appreciate that. That show's doing awesome, man. Overnight numbers were incredible for that the first night. So very excited to have Mike on. Mike talked a lot about Arvil and Tommy Heggie and some great people that we all know. But, he talked about Tommy Angel. He talked about a bunch of people. So if you haven't, go over to Live and in Color with Wolfie D and check that podcast out. Up next, and we've actually already completed the interview, we have Mark Lawrence from World Class, the announcer and color commentator from World Class Championship Wrestling. Man, that voice, dude, it's just a classic wrestling voice that you'll hear it and you'll be like, oh, I know this voice. It takes me to a place. But there's a very interesting tidbit he brings up about Bruiser Brody that I'm not going to spoil it here, but it is something that I've never heard about Bruiser Brody before, that maybe Bruiser's look also had maybe other, like a smell maybe or something. But yeah, y'all go check that out. It's dropping on Monday, the 1st, April Fool's Day. And that was a good interview. Y'all have to check that out. But definitely some interesting stuff we learned there as well. Of course, we talked Gary Hart and the Von Erichs and stuff. And he's another one that hasn't seen the Iron Claw movie. And I think he's a little bitter about the movie. And I understand anybody that was that close,
Yeah, I think it would be hard. I think, and I heard you were Wolfie once say it when you were talking to Al Perez, that it needed more time. I watched it and I liked the movie a lot. I'm not an expert on World Class or the Von Erichs or anything like that, but it needed more time because they left out stuff that would have been crucial to the story. They just tried. It almost felt like they tried to rush some stuff.
Yeah.
And honestly, when you're going to make a movie like that, maybe a little more wrestling in it wouldn't have been a bad thing. And I think they had the scenes for it. They just had to cut them. Maybe they'll make an extended version of the movie and release it somehow that'll kind of give you some more spots in it and make everything a little clearer. But the cutting out of some of the family members and one thing I don't remember, Al kind of talked about it, but I don't think he had seen the movie either. So, but I don't remember Fritz being real pushing on the the steroids when I watched it. So but I'd have to watch it again to.
Yeah.
I only watched it once, so it's good. But I think the deeper connected you are, I could see where you wouldn't like it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You get that? You get that? Like,
I definitely do. Yeah.
Like if they made a story of my life or your life, and we watched it, like it might be like I might see it and be like, well, that's not my brother. That's not exactly like, you know, they could portray your attitude or something in a way, and I'd be like, well, that's not exactly the way his attitude was or the way his actions were or anything like that, you know. So
yeah. Well, I heard an interview with Kevin Von Erich, and he said he was not talked to about it. So that kind of tells me a lot.
Really? They didn't talk to him about it? Lord,
well, I think they started a conversation with him, but I don't think they really went past much that. Basically, like, are you cool with this? And he's like, yeah. And that was it. So, yeah.
Wow.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm maybe misquoting him there, but I do know that he was not involved with the final product. So that's kind of concerning, you know.
It is, yeah, absolutely. That's the best source you have for it. So
right. Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe there's an extended version, or maybe somebody else gets another crack at it down the line. But I mean, I've said it a million times. That movie is a layup. That story is
the story's there, and you don't have to, you know.
Yeah, you don't have to Hollywood it up. It's pretty Hollywood itself, you know. So.
Yeah, it's an intense story without churching it up too much.
Yeah. Well, you know, we know our buddy Cassidy Riley's in it, and I don't want to dog it too much because I'm sure he was proud of his part and his role in it. But man, I just wish there was a little more meat on the bone from what I've heard. But we'll you know, I'm saying this from second-hand conversations. I have not seen it yet. I plan on seeing it soon. Once I do, then I'll say what I feel. But I've just heard so many holes were there, and unfortunately, that is just a story that didn't need to be messed with too much. It's pretty. It's pretty much a movie in itself. So if you want to see the full story, go check out that WWE documentary they did about it. It was amazing. So. Yeah. Well, anyway, that's all we got for today. Thank y'all so much, as always, for listening. We're always at GMBMPW on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, X, Instagram, whatever you want. We're on there, so go follow us there. We definitely appreciate all our guests from the past and in the future, and can't wait to see what comes next week. We've got some plans. I'm not going to say George Weingroff again. Say a prayer for George. He's been going through some health issues. Nothing major. He's doing okay, but as far as getting him on a show, I don't know that he's ready yet, but we'll see. He may surprise me. So no pressure, but George Weingroff will be on the show in the future at some point. We'll just leave it at that. So
right, there you go, man.
Yeah. Well, thank you all again, and we'll see y'all next time on Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling.
Don't forget,
he's the best right in the business, best right in the business, best right in the business, best right in the business.
With a tear in my eye, this is the greatest moment in my life.
This has been a James Rock Street production.